Chapter 1864. Yun Jian couldn't tell whether the man in the black robe was the mysterious man or not. But Yun Jian could judge one thing. How could the mysterious man expose himself to her so easily? And the mysterious man's men were all dressed in black robes, just like the mysterious man. So the man in the black robe in front of her was, "Ha ha ha, our master is here. Welcome to the hunting school. He will leave a big surprise for you there." The man in the black robe was also wearing a black mask, revealing only a pair of eyes. Looking at the man's eyes, Yun Jian could see that he was expressionless when he spoke. As soon as the man in the black robe finished speaking, Yun Jian frowned slightly and said, "Puppet." The man in the black robe was a puppet without his own emotions. And his task should be to send a message to her from the mysterious man. Yun Jian, who is he? Could it be those foreigners who were so smug just now? They actually attacked you? That's too much. Are you all right? Shen Liwei and the others saw this and hurried over from a distance. There were many people around the beach, most of whom came for a walk after dinner. Yun Jian's eyes were sharp for a while. The next second, she suddenly shouted at Shen Liwei and the others, "Everyone, run 100 meters away from here immediately. Move fast." What's going on? Meng Tian was stunned for a moment. Shen Liwei had already grabbed Meng Tian's hand and led his friends to run 100 meters away. No matter why Yun Jian said so, they just did it. Shen Liwei was really smart. And Yun Jian's words were not said to Shen Liwei and the others alone. But the people around were still stupefied and didn't move. Obviously, they didn't know the reason. Why should they run? And Yun Jian was a stranger to these people. Imagine a stranger who kicked a man away like a lunatic a second ago, and then asked everyone to run. Was this person crazy? Yun Jian, what's going on? Just then, Chen Yang and Ding Jianlin, who came with Yun Jian from Z country, came over with a group of special forces from other countries who had made friends with them after chatting for a while. Seeing Yun Jian, Chen Yang asked. He has a bomb on him. Yun Jian didn't try to persuade the people around her to leave. Seeing that they didn't listen, she didn't hurry to reply to Chen Yang. Instead, she sneered and said what she wanted to say. As soon as these words came out, the faces of the surrounding group of people turned green with fright. But there were also people who didn't believe it. Of course, Chen Yang and Ding Jianlin would not leave Yun Jian alone. The two of them, as well as the special forces from other countries who were also going to the hunting school, all followed up. At this moment, Yun Jian had already lifted the jacket of this expressionless black-robed man. The black cloak was lifted, and it was as she had expected. The black-robed man's waist and thighs were filled with rows of timed explosives. The stopwatch on the timer was jumping crazily. At this moment, it showed 1 minute left. Until they saw the explosives and the timer on the black-robed man, the crowd began to panic. Then they started to run quickly, and soon they all ran away. At this moment, Chen Yang and Ding Jianlin were stunned, and then they came over with a few special forces friends they had just made. What's going on? Someone frowned and asked. He has explosives on his body, and he wants to kill me. Yun Jian stepped on the black-robed man who didn't say anything after saying that sentence, and sneered. Then what are you waiting for? Run! A foreigner exclaimed. The explosives are very powerful. Even if we run 100 meters away, we can't be sure that we can ignore them. We have to dismantle them. As Yun Jian said, she turned her hand. Holding the butterfly knife in her right hand, she quickly pulled out the 3 red, yellow, and blue wires of the timed explosives. I know something about dismantling bombs. Step aside, I'll do it. Seeing that Yun Jian was going to dismantle the bombs, a man panicked and walked over. He wanted to exchange places with Yun Jian so that he could dismantle the bombs himself. Yun Jian didn't let him. She curled her lips and didn't look up. Her hands and attention were all on dismantling the bombs, but she still said, "Tsar bomb, model RDS 202. It's the latest bomb, very powerful. If you dismantle it by mistake, we will be smashed into pieces. Are you sure you want to dismantle it? Chapter 1865. Just now, when the man hesitated, Yun Jian directly cut off 2 of the densely packed red, yellow, and blue lines on the black-robed man's body without hesitation. When they heard about the Tsar bomb, the surrounding people were stunned. What is the Tsar bomb? That is the bomb known as the King of Bombs. It's so powerful that basically anyone who knows about it or likes guns and ammunition will definitely recognize the Tsar bomb. And the man who just said that he knew how to defuse the bomb only knew a little about it. When he heard that this bomb was actually the Tsar bomb, the man's body froze and he hesitated. The faces of the surrounding people changed. However, Yun Jian didn't give them a chance to think more. She raised her butterfly knife and took out a blue and red line from the complicated red, yellow, and blue lines and cut it on the spot with the butterfly knife. Yun Jian's move didn't give anyone a chance to react at all. When he saw Yun Jian cut the line, the man who just said that he would defuse the bomb almost screamed directly, "No. Don't cut it. It will explode." At this moment, no one had time to think about why Yun Jian knew so much about this bomb. No one thought about why Yun Jian found the 3 lines of the bomb in the first place. However, at this moment, Yun Jian cut it directly. The man who knew a little about bomb defusing directly covered his eyes at this moment, not daring to watch what happened next. Everyone knows that when you defuse a bomb, if you defuse the wrong line, it will only detonate the bomb in advance. There was only 1 minute left for the bomb timer. Ordinary bomb defusing experts would think about it and couldn't make up their minds. If they really didn't have full confidence, they would have to disperse the surrounding crowd to minimize the damage, and their group would be the last to evacuate. But Yun Jian. She's good. How can there be a bomb defusing expert like her? She found 2 lines and cut them with a butterfly knife without even thinking about it. What if she defused the wrong line? This is the Tsar bomb. Once the Tsar bomb explodes, its power can blow up the people standing next to the bomb until not even their bones are left. This was the power of a bomb. There were no skeletons to be seen. However, Yun Jian directly cut 2 of the strings. Everyone closed their eyes as they felt the arrival of the Grim Reaper. 1 second later. 2 seconds later. 10 seconds later. Everyone slowly opened their eyes. They didn't die? Did he survive the terrifying Tsar bomb, or did Yun Jian successfully defuse the bomb? The answer, without a doubt, was the latter. Really? You really dismantled the Tsar bomb? The man who said that he knew how to defuse the bomb looked at Yun Jian in disbelief and said slowly. She had successfully dismantled the Tsar bomb. The people around them were all highly skilled special forces soldiers. Naturally, they were more receptive to things that defied common sense. A few seconds later, they all accepted that Yun Jian had just defused the bomb. Is that surprising? Yun Jian glared at the man who had been talking to her. It's the Tsar bomb. You can actually defuse it. To be honest, I really didn't have any confidence just now. The man who knew how to defuse the bomb scratched his head. Then, the man paused and introduced himself to Yun Jian. Hello, my name is Jiao. I'm from country Y. Seeing that even Jiao had greeted Yun Jian, the group of men around them all expressed their friendliness to Yun Jian. Especially Yun Jian's amazing strength just now. The doubts of the people around Yun Jian's age and strength when they first saw her were no longer doubted at this moment. Yun Jian nodded. She defused the row of timed explosives and threw them on the ground. Seeing that Yun Jian had defused the explosives so easily, Jiao swallowed his saliva and asked, "You seem to be very familiar with the structure of the Tsar bomb?" Chapter 1866. Gulping hard, Jiao and the others around him labeled Yun Jian a new label. This little girl must be a monster. Yes, she must be a monster. Such a powerful monster. Then what should we do with him? Jiao and the others asked Yun Jian when they snapped back to reality and looked at the man in the black robe. What should they do with this man in the black robe? He actually dared to surround explosives in public. This matter must be reported to the police. A man said angrily. It's too late to call the police. Yun Jian stood up straight and looked down at the man in the black robe under her foot. She suddenly said. Hearing this, the people around were confused. Why is it too late? A man around asked in surprise. What did Yun Jian mean? Before Yun Jian could react, the man in the black robe lying on the ground suddenly bled from his orifices and stopped breathing after a while. How did he die? Seeing this, the people around pointed at the man in the black robe and asked Yun Jian. At this moment, Yun Jian seemed to have become a god who knew everything. A group of men seemed to have become primary school students who knew nothing and were waiting for the teacher to teach them one by one. He's just a puppet. If the mission fails, he won't live. If the mission succeeds, he will die. Just now, he just bit the suicide poison hidden in his gums. Yun Jian retracted her leg. She had a general understanding of the situation. The mysterious man, of course, knew that he would not die in the explosives. He sent such a puppet to find her just to pass on the message just now. And the row of explosives just now was a greeting gift from the mysterious man. A greeting gift? Yun Jian raised her eyebrows. She would like to see what the big surprise the mysterious man left for her in the hunting school was. This matter, of course, shocked the police. Later, Yun Jian and the others showed their identities and were released by the police. 3 days later, everyone gathered at the entrance of the 6-star hotel in Brunei. Jamil also arrived as promised. Are you all ready? Jamil narrowed his eyes as he looked at everyone present and suddenly asked. Everyone agreed. Seeing this, Jamil let everyone get on his bus and headed to the hunting school. The hunting school was located in the tropical jungle of Venezuela. There were very few people here. The hunting school had built a house in the tropical jungle of Venezuela. It was not luxurious. However, there were all kinds of training tools here. Yun Jian followed the crowd and came here. As soon as she arrived at the hunting school, she narrowed her eyes. This place was still the same as before, simple and crude. From today onwards, I'm your chief instructor. You'll get your own random number later. You are not allowed to address each other by name here. If the academy suspends training for 48 hours, regardless of the reason, it will be considered as an automatic forfeit. Jamil stood in front of the crowd and spoke solemnly. With that, Jamil turned his head and looked to the side. Instead, he saw a tall, handsome man about 25 years old walking over from a small, dilapidated house next to him. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes slightly when she saw the man. Jamil pointed at the man and introduced him to the people present. This is your deputy instructor. His name is Lin Wei. That's right, he is one of the 4 leaders of the Inhun organization. He is in charge of the Inhun organization's assassin training camp. He has trained countless terrifying figures in the world. Slaying God, the number 1 on the secret agent ranking, was also trained by him. Under his training, you will become very outstanding. However, the premise is that you have to endure all the pain and tiredness. Chapter 1867. Lin Wei scanned the crowd with his sharp eyes and finally paused on Yun Jian for 2 seconds before he looked past her. That cold look was as if nothing in this world could stop or attract him. He looked at Yun Jian more because the young master had instructed him that no matter what, he must not let Yun Jian lose a single hair. Otherwise, he, Lin Wei, would be the one who lost a hair. Lin Wei was naturally calm and steady, even more so than Mo's senator naturally. He would not address Yun Jian as the young madam in such an occasion. Yun Jian's first reaction when she saw Lin Wei was not to ask why he was here. But, what a coincidence. As slaying God in her previous life, she was trained by Lin Wei. Now that she had come to the hunting school in this life, she had become Lin Wei's subordinate. This coincidence really made one not know whether to laugh or cry. After Jamil finished speaking and got the response from the crowd, he got someone to distribute a number plate to each of them. After the number plate was distributed, Jamil continued, "Have you received the number plate in your hands? From today onwards, it will be your name. She flipped the number plate and saw 2 legitimately written numbers floating in front of her eyes. 16. Her number was 16. Although it was not 06, it was still related to 6. Lin Wei, what do you have to say? After Jamil finished speaking, he passed the initiative to Lin Wei. Lin Wei looked around the scene and only said one sentence, I'll do my best to torture you. It's up to you whether you can take it or not. Other than that, he did not say anything else. Yun Jian blinked. This was Lin Wei's character. He was a man of few words and his words hit the nail on the head. Everyone present gulped but did not make a sound. Today is your first day in the hunting school. I'll show you an exciting show on this first day. Jamil suddenly narrowed his eyes and clapped his hands. Not long after, a huge lion was pushed out of a cage and placed in a huge cage in front of everyone. There was also a slender girl about 18 or 19 years old who was pulled out from the side by Jamil's subordinates. This girl was very beautiful, with a pair of sharp sky-blue eyes. She was as delicate as a doll. After the girl was pushed out, she glared fiercely at Jamir. Then, not long after, the girl was pushed into a huge cage. At this moment, the lion was released. It locked eyes with the young girl. Everyone standing in place could feel that this lion had been roaring. Clearly, it had been hungry for a long time. Hunger made the lion roar twice on the ground and pounce towards the young girl. Yun Jian blinked at the sight. The moment Lin Wei saw the girl appear, his eyes moved, but he didn't say anything. The young girl was chased by the lion for a while. Suddenly, her thigh was bitten. She was in so much pain that her whole body was numb. However, she stubbornly stretched out her other leg and kicked the lion in the eye. She turned over and stood up. Yun Jian seemed to see her past self in the girl. Even if she was seriously injured, she had to stand up stubbornly and continue fighting. Because once you fall, you will never have the chance to stand up again. No one can save you. The only one who can save you is yourself. The girl did not look at the wound on her thigh. She was forced into a corner, but her eyes were fixed on the lion. Clearly, before this, the girl had experienced inhuman treatment and understood the principle of the winner being king. No one could save her. The lion roared and pounced at the girl again. At this moment, the girl was covered in blood. She screamed and also pounced at the lion. However, the moment she was about to meet the lion's eyes, a blade appeared in her hand. She turned over from the lion's stomach and slashed the blade across the lion's head, killing the lion on the spot. Clap, clap, clap. At this moment, Jamil suddenly narrowed his eyes and clapped. Then, he said mercilessly as if he was enjoying a show, "What a wonderful performance." This performance made everyone's hair stand on end. Bang! At this moment, Yun Jian saw Lin Wei kick open the huge cage and walk in front of the girl. Lin Wei pulled up the girl who had fallen to the ground as if she was paralyzed. Then, he looked at her with his usual cold gaze. Under the gazes of Yun Jian and everyone else, he suddenly said without allowing her to refute. Chapter 1868. Lin Wei's sudden words shocked everyone present. Even Yun Jian, who stood in the distance and watched the girl in the huge cage fight with the lion without saying a word, blinked. These words that Lin Wei said were truly incessant to shock people to death with his words. If Shuang was here, he would probably burst out laughing. Not long ago, Shuang had asked Lin Wei when he would find a woman to carry on his family line. Today, Lin Wei walked in front of this young girl and directly asked her, "Are you willing to marry me and give birth to my children?" How could marrying a wife be so casual? Lin Wei did not have any requirements for his other half. He walked up to the girl just now purely because the girl's actions just now were to his liking. To Lin Wei, as long as his other half did not cheat, he would not find any other woman except for her. There was no sex involved. It was enough to simply carry on the family line. Moreover, he was already 25 years old. It was time to carry on the family line. Seeing that the girl met his requirements just now, Lin Wei came over and said those words just now. Yun Jian, who was in the distance, blinked and watched with her arms crossed. The group of special forces from all over the world standing next to them, as well as the head of the hunting school and the chief instructor, Mijil, were all stunned. He saw the girl, who had just fought a lion and was now lying on the ground in a sorry state, covered in wounds. Her clothes, which were not luxurious to begin with, had been torn in the fight with the lion. She raised her head and was pulled up by Lin Wei. She looked at Lin Wei with a pair of surprised eyes. The girl was very beautiful. She had a pair of sky blue eyes, regular facial features, and was very thin. At first glance, people would want to protect her. Especially the girl's pair of stubborn and unyielding eyes, as if she would do her best to survive. The girl's appearance was no different from the people of Z country. The only difference was probably her pair of sky blue eyes. However, this pair of sky blue eyes was exquisite and beautiful to the extreme. Unlike cosmetic contact lenses, this pair of pure sky blue eyes had a natural and fresh beauty. 189, come out now. You did a good job surviving from the lion's mouth just now. Master Lin Wei was joking with you. Could it be that you've never looked at yourself properly? How can someone like you be worthy of Lord Lin Wei? Before Jamil could say anything, one of his subordinates standing next to him roared at the girl on the other side. 189 was the girl's number and name. The man next to Jamil was called Buddy. The girl had been personally trained by Buddy, and Buddy had been coveting the girl's beauty for a long time. Previously, he had never found a chance to make a move on the girl. Buddy had planned to wait until the girl was about to be sent out of the hunting school to possess her. But he didn't expect Lin Wei to stand up and say such words to the young girl. Therefore, Buddy immediately spoke up. In the hunting school, the status of the students was not high. This was especially true for people like the young girl, who had been caught and trained here for more than 10 years for no reason. Her status was even lower than a dog's. Hearing Buddy's words, the girl's body trembled, but she didn't walk towards Buddy. The girl wasn't stupid. She clearly knew that Buddy was up to no good. Seeing this, Buddy cursed and pulled out a long leather whip from his waist. He walked towards the girl and said, F***ck your mother, you don't even listen to me? Lord Lin Wei took pity on you, and you're taking advantage of him? This girl is still a virgin. I haven't even touched her yet. Buddy thought to himself. But Buddy was weaker than Lin Wei, so he naturally had to be respectful and find other reasons to take her back. I'm willing. As long as you take me out of here, I'm willing to do anything. The girl was clearly afraid of Buddy. She suddenly knelt down in front of Lin Wei and grabbed his hand. F***CKU, you be *TCH, you're rebelling. Seeing this, Buddy was about to charge over aggressively. There was a steep slope here, and at the bottom of the slope was a huge cage. Buddy passed by Yun Jian and was about to jump down the slope when Yun Jian suddenly stretched out her leg and kicked Buddy's back, kicking him down the slope. Buddy couldn't react in time and was kicked down the slope by Yun Jian. He fell face first like a frog and couldn't stand up for a long time. After all, this was the hunting school, the territory of Buddy's group. Seeing that Yun Jian didn't restrain herself, everyone was terrified. However, Yun Jian's cold voice rang out. Sorry, I didn't do it on purpose. Chapter 1869. After Yun Jian said that, Buddy, who had wanted to jump down the steep slope but couldn't react in time after being kicked in the back by Yun Jian, fell down the slope like a frog. His face was smashed hard on the ground, and he couldn't say a word. Now that he heard Yun Jian's words, his expression was as ugly as if he had eaten dog poop. The worst thing was that Buddy's face was smashed hard. His mouth was smashed by the rocks at the bottom of the steep slope, and he couldn't say a word. Jamil didn't say anything when he saw this. Buddy was Jamil's subordinate, but Jamil wouldn't protect him. This was a place where the strong preyed on the weak. Even Buddy would be eyeing Jamil's position like a tiger eyeing its prey. He would attack Jamil at the first opportunity. In this place, everyone could only live for themselves. When Buddy got up from the ground and turned to look at Yun Jian, He glared at Yun Jian fiercely and said to Yun Jian in his own language, "When I'm at the hunting school, I'll start from scratch. No matter how powerful you were in my hunting school, you will have to start from zero here. Little girl, I will remember this kick of yours." From the start, everyone had been speaking in Spanish. Everyone had learned Spanish before coming here. The hunting school was located in the tropical jungle of Venezuela. Any student who entered this place would have to sign a life and death agreement. This meant that even if Buddy did something to Yun Jian behind her back, no one would question her death. Hence, people who could leave this place alive were usually so powerful that they were invincible. Or, they had to hide their abilities. They couldn't be the weakest person, nor could they fight for the strongest. Buddy remembered Yun Jian's name. At this moment, Buddy didn't know that Yun Jian and Lin Wei knew each other. He also didn't know that Yun Jian was the young madam of the Inhun organization. Lin Wei had already taken the young lady's hand and pulled her out of the huge cage. Buddy turned his head and saw Lin Wei holding the young lady's hand. He knew that his plans for the young lady were ruined. Who was Lin Wei? He was one of the 4 leaders of Inhun. No matter how insensible Buddy was, he would never dare to snatch Lin Wei's woman. Originally, he just wanted everyone present to see a good show between the lion and the girl, but he didn't expect Lin Wei to take the girl away. Jamil narrowed his eyes and didn't say much. Actually, to Lin Wei, if the girl had refused just now, he wouldn't have forced her. All he wanted was a woman who could reproduce for him. That was it. Moreover, the task of reproducing could not be delayed. Jamil wanted everyone to watch the battle between the girl and the lion. He wanted them to understand the survival rules of the hunting school on their first day in the hunting school. No one can protect you here. You have to protect yourself. Strong enough to survive. Just like the girl from before. It was also because of the inhumane training in the hunting school that people who graduated from here would become the future pillars of the country. The incident with the young girl was just an accident. On the first day of school, Jamil didn't say much and let everyone return to their bedrooms. Because all of them were men, and Yun Jian was an exception, Yun Jian was arranged to be opposite the male dormitory. Yun Jian had just walked into the dormitory when she saw the girl who was taken away by Lin Wei. There were 4 shabby beds and 3 empty beds in the dormitory. Only the young girl's bed was filled with simple and crude items. Seeing Yun Jian, the girl was stunned, but she quickly remembered that Yun Jian was the one who helped her kick Buddy just now. The girl immediately thanked Yun Jian. Thank you for just now. The girl was taken away by Lin Wei just now, and later she begged him to let her go back to her dormitory. Lin Wei's dormitory was full of men, and the girl was still a little afraid. After living in the hunting academy for so many years, it was unbelievable that he could keep his chastity. The girl had suffered a lot so far, and even almost died. So naturally, she wouldn't trust anyone easily. Even if she agreed to Lin Wei's request, it would only be a delaying tactic for the girl. How could the girl not know Buddy's feelings for her? No need to thank me. Yun Jian continued after the girl finished speaking. After that, Yun Jian turned to look at the girl and asked for her name, which was rare. What's your name? Chapter 1870. Yi Ling, as her name suggested, was very beautiful. Her sky-blue eyes seemed to be able to speak. Even Yun Jian couldn't help but take a few more glances at her. At this moment, Yi Ling was wearing loose, fluffy, and tattered clothes from head to toe. Although the clothes she was wearing and her disheveled appearance were much better than when she fought the lion, after tidying up and tidying herself up, she didn't look much better. Yun Jian knew that this was Yi Ling's way of protecting herself. If Yi Ling didn't make herself look bad, she would have been defiled by the men here. My name is Yun Jian. I'm from country Z, Yun Jian briefly introduced herself. Then, she turned over and laid on one of the empty beds. She put down her backpack and closed her eyes to rest. Yi Ling saw that Yun Jian closed her eyes, but she still nodded at Yun Jian. Then, she sat on her bed and pondered. After a while, Yun Jian opened her eyes. Yi Ling saw that Yun Jian opened her eyes. It seemed that she hadn't found someone to talk to for a long time. Therefore, she asked Yun Jian carefully, "Did you enter the hunting school on your own accord?" Hearing Yi Ling's careful question, Yun Jian nodded, "Yes." "Why? Why did you enter the hunting school on your own accord?" "It's very scary here." "We all want to leave," Yi Ling asked in confusion. "For strength. To be more powerful." Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. Everyone's values and pursuits were different. Some hope to be a doctor in the future. Some hope to be a teacher in the future. Yun Jian, on the other hand, pursued supreme strength. After hearing Yun Jian's words, Yi Ling was silent for a while. Then, she continued, "If you didn't ask for my name, I would have almost forgotten mine. I've been here since I was very young. 189 is my name. The women who are caught here either become objects for others to admire, just like when I was fighting the lion just now. Their lives are in danger at any time. Then, I'll be a slave to those men." Yi Ling clenched her fists in anger when she heard the word slave. After a moment of silence, Yi Ling breathed a sigh of relief and said to Yun Jian, "The other women in the dormitory are all like me. They have been here since they were very young. But other than me, they all chose to be men's release tools." As for her, she was struggling bitterly. This was not the first time she had fought a lion, and she was covered in wounds every time. No one would sympathize with Yi Ling. If she did not leave this place, there would only be two outcomes for her. She could either compromise and become a tool for all the men here to vent their frustrations, just like the women in the other dormitories. Or, they would fight the beasts endlessly until they died at the beasts' mouths due to exhaustion. There were originally 4 people in this room, but now I'm the only one left. Yi Ling sighed. Yi Ling didn't know why she was so talkative today. She told Yun Jian everything she knew. After saying this, she felt that she was a little stupid. Why did she say so much? "Okay." At this moment, Yun Jian responded softly. Yun Jian usually didn't pay attention to others. If she responded to Yi Ling, it meant that she already treated Yi Ling as Lin Wei's woman. Bang! At this moment, the door of Yun Jian and Yi Ling's dormitory was suddenly kicked open. A woman led a group of women in fiercely through the door. The woman stepped on a broken stool in Yi Ling's dormitory as soon as she entered. She said rudely. Chapter 1871. Yi Ling had sat up straight when she heard someone kick the door. Now that she saw the woman who led the way and had one foot on the stool and was talking to her, Yi Ling's expression changed. Basically, all the women here were capable. However, Yi Ling was the most hardworking and powerful one among the group of women. But Yi Ling's strength wasn't at the level where she could easily fight back if these women ganged up on her. These women were like Yi Ling. They had been captured and brought here since they were young. What made them different from Yi Ling was that they could be ked by any man here. They could be used as tools to vent at any time and place. To put it bluntly, they were prostitutes. Yi Ling had never compromised, so she was still a pure young girl. These women were very jealous, but they couldn't stand the pain Yi Ling could suffer, and they couldn't fight a fierce beast like a lion. That could lead to death. Therefore, these women would rather choose to sleep under a man's crotch than fight against death every day for the sake of their innocence. So they especially disliked Yi Ling. Why? Why was Yi Ling still a pure young girl? And they had become tools for all the men here to vent at any time. Sluts who could be ked by anyone. 211, this is my business. It has nothing to do with you. Yi Ling stood up and looked into the woman's eyes. Yi Ling's body was covered in injuries, but she was still unyielding when she looked into the eyes of the woman with number 211. Everyone here used numbers to call each other. This woman with number 211 was called 211. Tisk, so those who caught Master Lin Wei's eye are different? Us sisters can't even enter Master Lin Wei's residence. You little slut, what right do you have to get Master Lin Wei's proposal? Sisters, take off all her clothes and throw her outside. 211 glared at Yi Ling fiercely. After the women from 211 found out about Lin Wei's identity, it wasn't that they didn't find a chance to climb into his bed, but they couldn't even enter Lin Wei's residence. They couldn't even see him. So when they heard that Master Lin Wei had taken a liking to Yi Ling, they were furious. In a place like this, the consequence of stripping a woman naked and throwing her outside was to be ked by a group of men who were eyeing women covetously. 211's viciousness could be imagined. Yi Ling furrowed her brows tightly. Chapter 211 was about to order the group of women behind her to attack Yi Ling when she saw Yunjian's petite figure lying on the empty bed. NB 211 glanced at Yi Ling and spoke to Yunjian in a sarcastic tone like a boss. What's the matter? Oh, there's a newcomer here. Did he just come in? You look so tender. Are you planning to be a chaste and virtuous woman like in 1899, or are you going to open your thighs and ride them? The students of the hunting school were special forces from various countries. Naturally, their status was much higher than this group of women. The status of these women was even lower than dogs. For example, the difference between the students of the hunting school and this group of women was that the master was no different from the slave. Those who were ranked within 100 were the students of the hunting school. Those who were ranked after 100 were the slaves of the hunting school. Don't look at how arrogant 211 was in front of women. In front of men, he didn't even know how to write the word speak. Of course, NB 211 didn't know that Yunjian entered the hunting school as a special forces soldier. NB 211 thought that with Yunjian's age, she was at most a girl who had just been brought in. Yunjian remained silent. NB 211 thought that Yunjian was scared. He smiled sinisterly and ordered the group of women behind him. Looks like she's a mute. That's good. Strip them both naked and throw them into the yard. If they were thrown into the yard and seen by the men, Yunjian and Yi Ling's chastity would definitely be lost. It would be strange if the men didn't pounce on them. Just as 211 made his vow, Yunjian stood up and met his eyes with a smirk, showing him her number tag. Then, under 211 and the rest's fearful gazes, she spoke abruptly, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. Chapter 1872. In the hunting school, anyone with a serial number after 100 was a slave. What did a slave mean here? It meant someone who could be bullied at will and could not fight back even if they were killed. All in all, 211 and Yunjian were not on the same level. Yunjian's serial number was 16. It was obvious that she was a new student. 211 was a slave here, which meant that 211's status was lower than a dog's. The group of women around her, including Yi Ling, were all slaves. Hence, 211 dared to be arrogant in front of people of the same rank because they were all of the same rank. Just like slaying God from the Kosha mercenaries, compared to a normal member of the Kosha mercenaries, this analogy could be used to describe the difference in status between Yunjian and 211. Therefore, Miss 211's expression changed abruptly when she heard Yunjian's words. She stared at Yunjian in disbelief as her expression changed drastically. You're a student. Not a slave. She was different from them. She was not a slave. 211 thought that Yunjian was a slave because Yunjian was young. There were many women who were Yunjian's age who were brought into the hunting school. Moreover, which hunting school had a female student? Only men like Chen Yang and Ding Jianlin could enter the hunting school and become its students. Not only was Yunjian a girl, but she was also so young. 211 did not mix Yunjian with the students of the hunting school because of this. Yunjian's words almost scared 211 to death. Needless to say, 211's status in the hunting school was not on the same level as Yunjian's. When 211 heard Yunjian's words and saw Yunjian's serial number, which symbolized her status, she was stunned for a few seconds. She was so scared that she fell to the ground and begged for Yunjian's forgiveness. The group of women behind 211 also knelt down in fear and begged for forgiveness. Yunjian was too lazy to argue with this group of women. She didn't come here to argue with these women, so she softly shouted, "Scram!" Seeing this group of women scram out of here in fear, she didn't bother with them anymore. After these women left, Yiling let out a sigh of relief. Just as she let out a sigh of relief, someone knocked on the door. It was a man. This man was quite polite. He knew that this was the female dormitory, so he didn't enter directly. Are you looking for me? Yiling pointed at herself and asked. Master Lin Wei is looking for you, the man said. Yiling was stunned. For some reason, she turned to look at Yunjian. Go ahead, Yunjian said and closed the door. Obviously, she did not want to let Yiling in. Yiling was stunned and followed the man to Lin Wei's residence. Everyone here respectfully addressed Lin Wei as Lord Lin Wei. After the man brought Yiling into Lin Wei's place, he closed the door and left. This made Yiling a little scared. Yiling wanted to open the door, but found that it was locked. She tried to open it twice, but to no avail. When she turned around and saw Lin Wei standing behind her, she was so scared that she leaned against the door. Master Lin Wei, why are you looking for me? Yiling swallowed. Do you remember what you said just now? Lin Wei said simply. Yiling didn't know what to say, but she still nodded. In front of a big shot, it was best to nod. Otherwise, her life would be in danger. This was Yiling's experience. Seeing Yiling nod, Lin Wei suddenly walked in front of Yiling and placed his hand on her chest. Ah, what are you doing? Yiling was so scared that she pushed Lin Wei away. Making a baby, Lin Wei said simply. Then he added, you promised. Was he serious? Yiling's eyes turned. Yiling did promise Lin Wei just now to avoid Buddy. She wanted to use Lin Wei's identity to make Buddy not dare to do anything to her in the future. Just as Yiling was thinking, Lin Wei walked over and trapped Yiling in front of the door. Seeing that Yiling didn't make a sound, Lin Wei leaned over and buried his head in Yiling's neck. I lied to you. I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. Yiling was scared now. She struggled to speak. The next second, Lin Wei grabbed Yiling's wrist, which was completely harmless to him. His eyes met Yiling's, and his breathing became heavy. His words were still simple and easy to understand. Chapter 1873. If Yiling had rejected him at first, Lin Wei would not have forced her. However, since she had agreed, she could not reject him. This was Lin Wei's way of doing things. Once she had agreed, there would be no more room for discussion. Yiling's pure blue eyes were exceptionally alluring. Her long eyelashes fluttered up and down, setting off her pair of beautiful eyes. Unlike pretty girls who wore contact lenses, Yiling's eyes were pure blue, a beauty born from nature. It also attracted Lin Wei's attention. Since Yiling could survive the lion's blood, she was naturally not weak. However, Lin Wei was the most powerful among the 4 leaders of the Inhun organization. He was in charge of the Inhun organization's assassin training camp and had trained many powerful people. To be fair, Yun Jian would not be who she was today if it were not for Lin Wei's guidance when she was slaying God. Although Yun Jian was powerful and her current ability was even more powerful than Lin Wei's, without Lin Wei's guidance back then, her ability would not have expanded. Moreover, Lin Wei's ability was something that could take the world by storm if he were to announce his name. Yiling was no match for him at all, so there was nothing she could do when Lin Wei grabbed her wrist. Yiling was a smart person. This could be seen from the fact that she knew how to use Lin Wei's identity to stop Buddy from harming her back in the huge cage when she knew that Buddy had bad intentions toward her. However, Yiling did not expect Lin Wei to take it seriously. Yiling immediately looked at Lin Wei. She swallowed her saliva and tried to negotiate with Lin Wei without any confidence. I lied to you on purpose, I admit that. I'm very sorry about this. I know that I'm not qualified to talk about conditions with Master Lin Wei now, but can you wait until I leave the hunting school, until I have my own strength? No matter what you ask of me, I'll agree to it. Yiling was not confident when she said that. After all, she had nothing at the moment. All right. Yi Ling was relieved to hear what Lin Wei said. However, just as Yi Ling was relieved, Lin Wei grabbed her wrist and pulled her into his embrace. He then carried her and said coldly, "I want you to bear my children." Yi Ling was speechless. In the female dormitory building, Yun Jian and Yi Ling's room. After Yi Ling was called away by the people sent by Lin Wei, Yun Jian not only closed the door directly but also locked it. At this moment, she was resting on her bed with her eyes closed. Knock, knock, knock. At this moment, someone knocked on the dormitory door again. The door to the dormitory was very old. The people outside could easily break the lock with one kick. Since the people outside chose to knock on the door, it probably wasn't the people from 211. Yun Jian stood up, walked to the door, and opened it. What he saw was a very ordinary and unfamiliar man's face. "Young madam, I am Guiying. The young master asked Lord Emosen to send me to deliver a letter to you." The man saw that there was no one around. After handing an envelope to Yun Jian, he turned and left. Guiying was Emosen's subordinate. He was quite handsome, and it was obvious that he had disguised himself to sneak into the hunting school. Yun Jian closed the door after seeing Guiying leave after handing her the envelope. The hunting school was isolated from the outside world. Yun Jian's phone was confiscated as well, so CE had sent someone to deliver the letter to her secretly. She closed the door and opened the letter. When she read the contents of the envelope, Yun Jian blushed. There were not many words in the letter, but it was CE style. "Xiao Jian, I really want to stay in your body for the rest of my life and become one with you." In Lin Wei's residence. Yi Ling was still unable to react when she was lifted up horizontally. In the next second, Yi Ling was thrown onto Lin Wei's bed and she could smell his scent. Yi Ling panicked. Just as Yi Ling was about to stand up, Lin Wei's sturdy body was already on top of her. He held her hands down and his breath blew on her neck, making her shudder. Yi Ling was frightened by Lin Wei. Just as she was about to struggle, Lin Wei pinned her down. Yi Ling could even feel her legs being separated. Chapter 1874. After Lin Wei said this, Yi Ling put her hands on her chest and pressed against Lin Wei's body. She blinked her beautiful little eyes and didn't make a sound. She was clearly frightened by Lin Wei's words. Lin Wei looked at Yi Ling for 2 seconds before getting off her body and standing on the edge of the bed. After 2 seconds of silence, Lin Wei said to Yi Ling, "From now on, you'll live in my room." It was still a simple yet direct declaration of sovereignty. After Yi Ling heard this, she blinked and said, "My things are still in the girls' dormitory, and how can I live with a man and a woman alone?" Before Yi Ling could finish, Lin Wei's voice interrupted her, leaving her no room for negotiation. "Go get them." In the end, when he heard that Yi Ling was not willing to live with him, Lin Wei's sharp eyes suddenly frowned. The next second, his brows relaxed and he said, "If you don't want to, I'll get Buddy to find you." Yi Ling was smart. She agreed to Lin Wei's request to avoid Buddy. However, Lin Wei wasn't stupid. He naturally knew Yi Ling's little tricks. Therefore, when she heard Lin Wei's words, Yi Ling immediately recalled that Buddy had been indulging himself with the women in 211 every day and night. Other than her and the new student Yun Jian, Buddy had already had a taste of all the girls in the girls' dorm. It was disgusting. It was more than disgusting. If she let Buddy do this to her, she might as well die. "I promise you," Yi Ling said very softly. Although Lin Wei didn't seem like a good person, ever since he appeared, he didn't look for other women like other men. Plus, at this juncture, she had no choice but to agree to Lin Wei's request. "Go get them now," Lin Wei said simply with Yi Ling on his back. However, when Yi Ling wasn't looking, Lin Wei's lips, which had been indifferent all his life, actually curved up slightly. Ever since Lin Wei got together with CE, his face had always been expressionless. No matter if he was in pain or happy, there was never a second expression on his face. But today, because Yi Ling had agreed to live with him helplessly, the corners of his lips had curled up without him noticing. If Snow Eagle or Adam saw this, they would probably jump up and exclaim, "This isn't our Lin Wei." In the girls' dorm, Yun Jian hid the envelope that Ce had sent to her in her backpack. Then, she closed her eyes to rest. Not long after she closed her eyes, someone knocked on the door again. This time, it was Yi Ling. "Yun Jian, I can't stay with you anymore," Yi Ling said to Yun Jian dejectedly. At the same time, she recounted what had happened. Of course, she didn't mention that Lin Wei touching her breasts and kissing her shoulder and her collarbone. "Go on." Yun Jian uttered only 2 words at that. After 2 seconds of silence, Yun Jian added, "Do you need me to organize your stuff?" Yi Ling almost suspected that Yun Jian was Lin Wei's biological mother. She couldn't wait for her to go to Lin Wei's place. In the end, Yi Ling simply packed her things and moved out. Yi Ling's best choice was to move out. On Lin Wei's side, he had Lin Wei's protection. Tonight was destined to not be a peaceful night. Yun Jian closed her eyes and continued to rest. At night, at 1:30 in the morning. "You're so annoying, Master Buddy, please be gentler." "Ah. In room 211, 211 was doing some vigorous exercise with Buddy. Her roommates were all there, but they were already immune to her and Buddy's actions. They couldn't accept it. They couldn't accept seeing Yi Ling move to Lin Wei's place. The fatty meat in their mouths had run away. After that, 211 could tell at a glance why Buddy was angry. She suddenly remembered what Yun Jian had done to her during the day. She rolled her eyes and recommended herself to Buddy. "Master Buddy, although Yi Ling left, there's a girl who's prettier than her living in her dorm." "Oh." When Buddy heard that, his perverted face narrowed. "But that girl is a student of our hunting school. I don't think it'll be easy to deal with her." 211 lowered her head and sighed. "Student? There's only one girl in this cohort. Could it be her?" Buddy suddenly thought of Yun Jian, and anger immediately surged into his brows. He was still in pain from that kick. "Master Buddy, do you know that girl? Let's not talk about anything else." "I think she's quite hot." 211 leaned on Buddy. Buddy suddenly licked his lips and revealed a sinister smile. "Since that girl dares to treat me like this, I must have her." As he spoke, Buddy thought of Yun Jian's beautiful face and body. He grabbed 211 and started another round of exercise. Chapter 1875. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Buddy had already returned to his place. He grabbed a few women who were good in bed and took turns to serve him. Now, he finally calmed down the anger of Yun Jian's kick during the day. At 3:15 in the morning, the night finally quieted down. Yun Jian, who had been resting with her eyes closed during the day, suddenly opened her eyes in the dark. Her beautiful black eyes seemed to reflect a strange light. In this hunting school, unless she was an international student, the moment she entered the school, no matter how good her previous achievements were, she would have to start all over again. Except for the fact that men from different countries were better than women, those who could enter the hunting school were usually men. If you want to know the reason, it's probably because in a hunting school, no matter what happens, men are always better than women. If a woman lost her virginity here, her whole life would be ruined. And if a man was raped, it was probably done by a gay man. Unless there was a woman who was so fierce that she couldn't find a man to rape her. About 3:35 in the morning, an earth-shattering sound was heard. In the next second, both the boys' and girls' dormitories seemed to have been blown up by something. Was there an earthquake? That was the feeling. What happened? What happened? What happened? In the boys' dormitory, the men from different countries all got up in fright. They put on their clothes and got up from their beds very quickly. They all came from the army and were elites from different countries. Of course, these men couldn't be weak. Soon, they put on their clothes and rushed out of the dormitory. Bang! 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 But when they rushed out of the dormitory, they were faced with gas bombs one after another. The gas bombs fell from the sky one after another, just like on the battlefield, making them confused. What the hell is going on? A foreign man exclaimed. Everyone was terrified. Among this group of foreigners, the calmest ones were probably Chen Yang and Ding Jianlin. Perhaps influenced by Yun Jian's calmness, Chen Yang and Ding Jianlin became calm and collected when they ran into trouble. Don't panic. There must be a reason for all of this. Chen Yang frowned and kindly reminded them. At this moment, the large loudspeaker in the dormitory building sounded, and Chief Instructor Jamil's voice immediately rang out. Hey, students, how was your rest last night? Did everyone enjoy tonight's gift? After cracking a joke, Jamil quickly got to the point. I forgot to tell you before I entered the school. Our emergency assembly in the middle of the night, including the bugle call to wake up, uses gas bombs instead of whistles and bugles. You, on the other hand, must pass through our dormitory building amidst the gas bombs and reach our large field within 3 minutes. Then, Jamil added, oh, by the way, if you don't come in 3 minutes, you'll be the first to be eliminated by the school. Good luck then. After he finished speaking, the gas bombs were still going on. Hearing this, everyone's fighting spirit surged. While avoiding the gas bombs, they all ran towards the sports field. 3 minutes later, everyone arrived at the sports field. As a group of elites, it was impossible for them to be sent to the hunting school if they didn't even have this bit of strength. But even so, there were still a few people who were injured. Basically, everyone had scratches or bruises at the moment, or it was obvious that they had broken through the gas bombs. But when everyone arrived at the sports field, they saw Yun Jian leaning against a tree, standing lazily. Her clothes were not stained with any layer of dust, as if she had not experienced any trouble at all. But everyone knew that the male and female dormitory building were attacked by gas bombs. The hunting school would not show mercy to women. Chapter 1876. Compared to the disheveled crowd, Yun Jian stood in front of them with her hands behind her head. She was brisk as if she had really walked to the field on a smooth journey and did not experience the gas bomb attack at all. How did you get here so fast? Chen Yang and Ding Jianlin looked at Yun Jian in surprise. Perhaps they didn't realize that Yun Jian actually came here so fast from the dormitory building. You guys are too slow. Yun Jian squinted at the embarrassed people. She straightened her body leaning against the tree, put her hands in her trouser pockets and walked over. At this moment, this group of men couldn't say a word. Yun Jian glanced at the group from the corner of her eyes and pressed her lips together before a smirk appeared on her face. This is impossible. You're just a woman. A foreigner pointed at Yun Jian and suddenly shouted in disbelief. They couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it even if they were beaten to death. Could it be that this girl went against the heavens? She was actually able to leave that place so quickly without leaving a single layer of black or gray dust on her body when the gas bomb attack was so overwhelming. She was the first to arrive at the sports field. Even if the people present were elites from all over the world, at this time, they were all injured. Some were even seriously injured, but still dragged their seriously injured bodies to come here. Yun Jian, on the other hand, did not even have a scratch on her from the gas bomb just now. She was standing in front of everyone just like that. She was just a woman. Yun Jian just curved her lips and didn't say anything. Clap, clap, clap. Just at the moment when everyone was shocked, a figure came out from the dark. It was Jamil. Jamil clapped his hands. Although he was also surprised, he still smiled and walked over. Don't doubt, my hunting school is full of cameras in every corner of the school. She just quickly came to the sports field from the gas bomb, there is no doubt about it. Jamil admitted Yun Jian. When he said this, Jamil's eyes flashed slightly. It could be seen that Jamil also had a certain degree of disbelief at this moment. Just now, he saw from the camera that Yun Jian's lightning-fast figure passed through the gas bomb, and strangely passed through it without any dust. From the beginning of the hunting school to the entrance of each batch of students, Jamil had never seen anyone who could calmly dodge the gas bomb attack like Yunjian. What was even more unbelievable was that she was just a young girl. Hearing Jamil's words, the people present naturally didn't doubt it. But the amazement at Yunjian's actions didn't stop. Very good, you all survived. Standing in front of the people, Jamil narrowed his eyes and scanned the crowd. Although many people were injured, all of them survived. In the past years, there were also students who died in the gas bomb attack. And the reason why the hunting school became famous was because it was the most effective but also the most cruel school. That was because every weapon used in the training of the hunting school, including the exercise in jungle warfare, the firearms used were real guns. Of course, the hunting school wouldn't deliberately attack the students. Once there was an accident, it would be a case of failure. Therefore, the casualties were not small. What do you think about the gas bomb attack? Jamil suddenly asked. With that, Jamil turned to look at Yunjian, narrowed his eyes, and said, "Let's let our first place say her thoughts." His words were directed at Yunjian. Everyone's eyes swept over Yunjian. But they saw Yunjian on the other side. The red arc was unusually bright under the dim light of the night. Chapter 1877. That one sentence summed it all up. However, after hearing Yunjian's words, everyone present, including Jamil, twitched their mouths. They stood rooted to the ground in shock, unable to react for a long time. What did she mean by the bombs were not powerful enough? The surprise attack of the gas bombs earlier had already caused many people present to suffer from abrasions. A few of them were even seriously injured. Wave after wave of bombs was simply too much for the people present to handle. And Yunjian. She actually said that the bombs were not powerful enough? Using bombs of this level for a surprise attack was useless? Did she mean that it was completely useless? You. What do you mean by that? Do you think you're so great? Young lady, let me give you a piece of advice. You're pretty strong, capable, and talented. This is your ability. However, in this world, it doesn't mean that you can spout nonsense just because you're strong, capable, and talented. If this goes on, you'll eventually have to pay the price for your nonsense. After hearing Yunjian's words, a foreign man's face froze. Then, he spoke to Yunjian in an adult tone. So what if Yunjian was powerful? Seeing how arrogant she was, even if she had the ability, she would have to pay the price for her arrogance. I don't know if I'll have to pay the price in the future, but I know that the strong are all born under impossible circumstances. Today, you think that you're very strong for dodging a bomb of this level. Then tomorrow, you won't continue to work hard. As for the price you're talking about, if I become the king, who can do anything to me? Yunjian's words rang out word by word, spreading to every corner of the place. Everyone who stood rooted to the ground, including Jamil, pricked up their ears. No one had expected Yunjian to have such resolve. Yes. Everyone thought that Yunjian was arrogant and felt that she was indeed amazing for having such strength at such a young age. However, many young elites had spoken rudely, arrogantly, and spouted nonsense because of their arrogance and because they thought that they were powerful. In the end, the price they paid was that all their talents were destroyed. But no one had expected Yunjian to say such things. If she became the queen, who could do anything to her? At such a young age, he already had such deep ideals. This point made everyone present have no choice but to be convinced. Clap, clap, clap. While everyone was deep in thought, Jamil clapped his hands again. Then, Jamil's hearty laughter rang out. Good, little girl. Haha. Good. You have a bright future. With that, Jamil's face suddenly darkened and he said to Yunjian eerily, I hope you can successfully graduate from the hunting school. Graduation meant that they would be able to leave the hunting school alive. After saying this, Jamil ended the emergency late-night assembly. After instructing everyone to leave, everyone went back to their dorms. Yunjian was no exception. She turned around and walked leisurely to her dormitory with her hands in her pockets. 16. Qin Yang and Ding Jianlin stopped Yun Jian. Upon hearing this, Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and turned around. You are excellent. Qin Yang and Ding Jianlin gave Yun Jian a thumbs up. Thank you. Yun Jian nodded and replied, You too. Seeing this, Qin Yang and Ding Jianlin scratched their heads and walked back to their dormitory. The moment she turned around, Yun Jian felt a pair of dark eyes staring at her in the dark. Yun Jian paused for a moment, but didn't stop walking back to her dormitory. In the dark, the owner of the pair of dark eyes saw that Yun Jian didn't notice him walking back to her dormitory. This pair of dark eyes flashed even more sharply. Which god, we finally meet again. Chapter 1878. After Yun Jian returned to her dormitory, she fell asleep immediately. Yi Ling had moved in with Lin Wei, so she would be the only one in this dormitory from now on. The night passed uneventfully. Although the emergency assembly in the morning was at 3:00, Yun Jian had rested during the day, so she did not sleep much the next morning. Yun Jian woke up at 4:30 in the morning. She only slept for more than an hour and went out for a morning run. When she came back, it was already 5:00. At 5:00, the gas bomb's reveille horn arrived as promised. Everyone was worthy of being elites from various countries. With last night's experience, everyone cleverly avoided the gas bomb surprise attack. Although everyone's faces were still as black as charcoal from the gas bomb's dust and their clothes were also covered in dust, compared to last night's injury rate, no one was injured today. Perhaps it was because of what Yun Jian had said, or perhaps it was because of their first day at the hunting school. Everyone unanimously asked Jamil to be stricter with them. The hunting school's training lasted for a year. In other words, within this year, the special forces of various countries would have to undergo a lot of inhuman training. If they could not take it, they would be disqualified midway and not allowed to graduate. Even if they were seriously injured midway, as long as they did not rejoin the team after 48 hours, they would be disqualified. Moreover, within this year, there would be countless gunfights and actual combat selections. For example, when they crawled forward, bullets would fly above their heads, and the selected personnel would not have any protection. If they deviated from the direction, they would even trigger a mine. Therefore, the mortality rate of the hunting school was extremely high. For this reason, some students would not be able to complete the hunting school's graduation mission and return to their hometown with regrets. Some students would unfortunately lose their lives. Returning to reality, Yun Jian was still the first to arrive at the designated field. Although the other students were a little slower, they were much faster than yesterday. Other than Yun Jian, the special forces of the other countries had all experienced the training of the special forces of various countries. Their foundation was naturally deeply rooted. This group of people had to remember one thing when they came to the hunting school. They were not here to train to become special forces. Instead, they wanted to reach a higher level within the scope of the special forces and become a true powerhouse. The people who came here were not weak. When everyone gathered at the field, Jamil gave everyone a 20-kilogram combat backpack and asked them to carry it on their backs for 20 kilometers of cross-country marching training. This was a task that he had to complete every morning when he woke up. In the next 15 days, Yun Jian and her team completed more than 20 dangerous courses under actual combat conditions that they had to complete in order to enroll in the school. Yun Jian did not have an outstanding performance. On the contrary, she was one of the worst performers. This made everyone feel slightly surprised, but no one thought too much about it. On the 16th day of the hunting school, the real training officially began. Early in the morning, after completing the 20 kilograms and 20 kilometers cross-country training, Jamil brought them to an open space. After Jamil brought everyone to this empty space, he left for the time being to give everyone some time to rest. Everyone present sat on the lawn. It was rare for them to have time to rest like today. The training from the past few days had made everyone breathless, so they all sat down. Yun Jian leaned against a big tree and closed her eyes to rest. 16. 16. Chen Yang shouted at Yun Jian. Seeing this, Yunjian opened her eyes and walked over. She saw that the field that was filled with men just now was suddenly filled with women from 211. "They're good girls, they're here to bring us water," Chen Yang said to Yunjian after drinking a bottle of water handed to him by 211. Obviously, Chen Yang was deceived by 211's appearance. "I heard that you guys will be skydiving later. It was Mr. Buddy who told me. Now Mr. Jamil should be calling for a large helicopter to carry you guys into the air." 211 told everyone what he knew in a friendly manner. Speaking of this, 211 turned to look at Yunjian and said to Yunjian with a nice face, "They are all men, and you are the only girl here. Can you really do skydiving? And I heard that you are still in high school. They have all been through formal training, but you are just a high school student." 211 had a worried look on his face. "Skydiving?" Yunjian raised her eyebrows. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy. "You look so delicate, why don't you ask the instructor for a leave and not go?" 211 said eagerly, but before she finished, she was interrupted by Yunjian. Chapter 1879. Naturally, the height of parachuting here could not be higher than the 20,000 meters that Yunjian had mentioned. However, it was indeed much more difficult than normal parachuting or parachuting for paratroopers. As for the 20,000 meters parachuting that Yunjian had mentioned, it was completely unheard of here, in the ears of everyone present, or even in the ears of 211. 20,000 meters, that was something that could only be achieved by breaking the world record. Furthermore, parachuting from high altitudes followed a principle. The higher the altitude, the faster the landing speed, and the higher the risk factor. Above 5,000 meters, the parachuters would generally need to bring oxygen in the cabin. Therefore, the 20,000 meters that Yunjian mentioned stunned 211 and the rest of the team, unable to snap back to reality for a long time. Yunjian's words had stunned everyone present. 211's face darkened after hearing it. Yunjian's words were obviously a slap to her face. She was going against her. "You're talking big again. Other than talking big, can you see people show me some real skills?" Just as everyone was stunned, a sarcastic male voice was heard. The man who had spoken was Maidan, the one who had tried to warn Yunjian at the beach of the Six-Star Empire Hotel in Brunei but had been slapped in the face. That day, Yunjian had dismantled a time bomb left behind by the black-robed man in front of everyone. Her ability had indeed stunned Maidan, so much so that Maidan had not spoken after that. However, Maidan was not someone to be trifled with. The slap that day had been given by Yunjian. Being slapped by the young lady had caused Maidan to be ridiculed by his friends these days. Maidan naturally had to take revenge for this. Maidan's words made Yunjian glance at him from the corner of her eyes. However, Yunjian did not say much. "These are positioning trackers. Put them in your pockets and immediately board a large helicopter to parachute. The landing point will be in this large forest. However, to make it easier for us to use the GPS to find you, don't lose this positioning tracker." Seeing that Yunjian didn't say anything, Maidan wanted to help 211 provoke Yunjian with words, but she was interrupted by Jamil, who had just left and returned. Parachuting from a high altitude could lead to accidents. For example, what if one was too nervous to open the parachute and fell to his death? All of these accidents constantly reminded everyone that they had to be prepared at all times. Even if something really happened, they should at least retrieve the corpse, right? At this time, the GPS tracker would be very useful. After all, this forest was very big, and even if they landed safely, they might not be safe. When everyone heard this, they all stuffed the tracking chip that Jamil had given them into their pockets. At this moment, after receiving the equipment, the group of people boarded a large helicopter. Under the instructions of the pilot, everyone equipped with parachutes sat in the large helicopter, and the helicopter immediately took off. Jamil stood on the ground, narrowed his eyes, and looked up at the large helicopter that was gradually flying into the sky. At some point in time, Lin Wei walked over from not far away. Jamil glanced at Lin Wei, then curled his lips and said, "How many of them do you think will be able to walk out of the forest alive?" Landing successfully from a high altitude was only a small step. The people from various countries who came here were all eyeing each other covetously. How could they guarantee that they would be safe after finding such an opportunity to be alone? "That girl won't die." Lin Wei only said this one sentence. It was not only because Yun Jian was the young madam of his Han organization. The reason why Lin Wei was even more convinced of this point was that he also saw in Yun Jian that overlapped with his memories. She was also the strongest woman in history who had been trained by him, and no one could surpass her. Chapter 1880. Lin Wei did not have much contact with Yun Jian. Ever since Ce went to Longmen City diligently, Lin Wei was mostly in an Han group. Even if he had bumped into Yun Jian a few times, it was not more than 5 times. Out of these 5 times, the number of times he spoke was pathetically low. Or perhaps he had never spoken to Yun Jian at all. Ce knew that Yun Jian was slaying God, so he would not spread the news. Even if Snow Eagle, Adam, or Mo Sun knew about Yun Jian's identity, they would not mention it easily. This was why Lin Wei was clueless about Yun Jian's background. He only knew that Yun Jian had some dealings with the Kosha mercenaries, but he would not know that Yun Jian was slaying God. This is an interesting game. Let's wait and see. Jamil's lips curled into a smirk when he heard Lin Wei. Yun Jian, who was sitting in the helicopter, was already equipped with a parachute. The women in 211 did not have the right to follow. Yun Jian was currently sitting in the helicopter's cockpit. They were doing a long jump of 3,000 meters this time. It was neither too high nor too low for them. "When the cockpit door opens later, I'll be the first to jump. Follow me if you're a man." My Dan's loud voice boomed. My Dan was obviously showing off his masculinity in front of everyone. Perhaps my Dan did not need to show off his masculinity in front of a bunch of men. However, there was a woman sitting in the cockpit. 16, don't be nervous. Just relax. Chen Yang and Ding Jianlin came from Country Z with Yun Jian. Both of them were righteous people, so despite knowing Yun Jian's ability, Yun Jian's age made them unable to hold back their goodwill. Yun Jian nodded, expressing her friendliness to the 2 men. The helicopter is flying at 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, 2 meters, 299 meters, 3,000 meters. The instructor's voice rang continuously. When they reached 3,000 meters, which was the height for landing, the helicopter stopped in the air. Planes carrying passengers at the airport were not allowed to stop suddenly. Even if they did, they had to glide down slowly. A helicopter could stop at a high altitude, but the same thing was that the propellers on the helicopter could not stop rotating. If the propellers stopped rotating, the helicopter would fall. "The cockpit door is open. You can parachute now," the instructor said to the group with a cold gaze. At this moment, the door of the engine room opened. At an altitude of 3,000 meters, the moment the cabin door opened, a huge gust of air rushed in. My Dan planned to jump down in front of Yun Jian's face, but when the cockpit door opened, he flinched. "I'll check my parachute." Seeing my Dan like this, everyone checked their parachutes. In fact, it was a little bit of panic in their hearts that was causing trouble. Who wouldn't be afraid of falling from 3,000 meters in the air? While everyone was checking their parachutes, Yun Jian strolled to the cabin door and leaped without hesitation, leading the way out. She jumped out just like that. When someone saw this, his hand that was still checking his parachute equipment stopped. He was stunned for a moment before he asked, unable to react in time. "This little girl is very courageous." Someone else said. Following Yun Jian were Chen Yang and Ding Jianlin from Z country. Chen Yang and Ding Jianlin were excellent special forces soldiers and very upright. Both of them followed after Yun Jian when they saw her leap out. Although it only took a short time for people to jump out of the helicopter one after another, it wasn't like the helicopter didn't move at all. In addition, the momentum of jumping down would cause people to move aimlessly. Usually, people who landed would not bump into each other. Yun Jian put away her parachute after landing and pursed her red lips. Everything was very natural to her. Not long after landing, Yun Jian suddenly heard a rustling sound. She narrowed her eyes and stood next to a tree. The owner of the sound was no stranger to her. It was Buddy and 211. Mr. Buddy, according to the GPS, she should be nearby. Chapter 1881. After Buddy finished speaking to 211, he suddenly shushed him. Then, he said to 211 in a voice that only the two of them could hear, "Stop talking. She should be nearby. She's not far away." Only the two of them could hear what Buddy said to 211. However, Yun Jian's ears were very sensitive. Even if Buddy deliberately lowered his voice to the lowest decibel, Yun Jian could still hear what he said to 211. After 2 seconds of silence, Buddy's voice rang out again. "Did you give her the water?" "Of course. I saw her drink it with my own eyes," 211 said confidently. Yun Jian had indeed drunk the water that 211 gave her. If she hadn't, how could she have seen through 211's scheme so clearly? "Very good. This way, she won't be able to resist me. I have a feeling that she must be nearby. Hurry up and find her for me." Buddy kicked 211. His sharp eyes seemed to have seen Yun Jian's hot body. His face darkened as he took the GPS device. It was obvious that Buddy was able to get the GPS device because he had done something with Jamil. "Master Buddy, the GPS device is reacting." "She's there." 211 suddenly pointed to a spot and said to Buddy in surprise. After destroying Yun Jian, there was hope. The sky gradually darkened. This high-altitude parachute jump was not a competition, nor was it a competition. It was simply a training exercise for them to perform high-altitude parachute jumps. After everyone landed, Jamil sent people into the forest one by one to look for Yun Jian according to the GPS device's instructions. After everyone was found, Jamil frowned. 16 is missing?" Jamil asked. Lin Wei stood at the side unhurriedly. "She was the first one to jump down," someone added at this time. "Follow the GPS device's instructions and follow me to look for her." Jamil frowned again and led everyone, including the few women who were with 211, into the forest. By the time they found the GPS device's chip according to the GPS device's instructions, it was almost dark. When the crowd found their destination, they were all shocked by the scene before them. They saw, Buddy and 211 were tied to a tree by parachutes. They were naked and hung from the tree. Leaves were stuffed in their mouths, so they couldn't speak. On the ground facing the two of them, there were many razor blades scattered all over the place. If Buddy and 211 broke free and fell to the ground, they would be pierced by these blades. Even if they didn't die, they would definitely be half dead. Hence, Buddy and 211 hugged each other and didn't dare to move. The moment he saw Jamil, Buddy even started moaning. "Pfft! What's going on? Are you having sex in the air?" "Instructor Jamil, your subordinate is really hardcore." Someone mocked Buddy while laughing at Jamil. Soon, everyone burst into laughter. No one saw it, but when Lin Wei saw this scene, his brows furrowed even tighter. Strangely, this scene overlapped with what that woman had done in his memory. "Instructor Jamil, your subordinate wanted to offend me, and even got this woman to drug me, but unfortunately, I'll return her to you." Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and walked out of the darkness. In front of everyone, she spoke rudely to Jamil. "SS." Just as everyone was laughing and Buddy was so mad that he wanted to kill Yun Jian, even 211 felt the same way. Lin Wei's voice rang out. Hearing Lin Wei's voice, Yun Jian wasn't surprised. Her eyes flashed and curved slightly. "Master Lin Wei, you." Jamil looked at Lin Wei in confusion. Everyone was stunned for a moment. Lin Wei looked at Yun Jian as if he wanted an answer. In front of everyone who was so confused that their breathing slowed, he spoke again. This time, it wasn't a question, but an affirmation. Chapter 1882. Your SS was as plain as have you eaten today. Everyone's first reaction was not to wonder who SS was. Instead, Lin Wei was known for being a man of few words. Even if something big happened, he would not bother to repeat the same thing twice. Of course, Yi Ling was an exception. Yun Jian, on the other hand, was just a student in a hunting school. Everyone knew that once a student entered a hunting school, they would have to start all over again no matter how good their past achievements were or how strong their abilities were. For Lin Wei to ask Yun Jian the same thing twice, one could imagine that even if Lin Wei was expressionless, he must have 1,000 questions in his mind. SS. Master Lin Wei, you said she's SS. Why does this title sound so familiar? Jamil stroked his chin and began to think. Slaying God was the one who was known worldwide, and SS was just a nickname given to slaying God by some people. If one was an international racer, the title SS would be known worldwide. However, as a Secret Service assassin, there were only a handful of people who could call Yun Jian SS. Of course, many people in the underworld knew the meaning of SS and the meaning of SS being slaying God. However, it was obvious that the people here did not know the direct relationship between SS and slaying God. Yun Jian was not surprised that Lin Wei could recognize her. She merely narrowed her eyes. Master Jamil. Don't care about SS, please save me first. Save me. Barty, who was tied to a tree with a parachute together with 211, dared not move as he was afraid that the razor blades would stab him, begged Jamil for help. What SS? At this moment, no one present knew who he was. Jamil was about to recall it, but after hearing Buddy's words, he immediately forgot about it. Hurry up and put him down. Jamil looked at Barty with disdain and ordered another subordinate beside him. Jamil's subordinate obeyed and quickly put Barty and 211 down. Lin Wei frowned when he saw that Yun Jian did not reply to him. Lin Wei was not stupid. Even if Yun Jian did not say anything, he already knew Yun Jian's identity. He really didn't expect that after going around in circles, the subordinate he was most proud of in the past would actually become his young madam. The corner of Lin Wei's mouth twitched. All right, since we found him, let's all go back. We'll continue training tonight. Jamil waved his hand. However, just as Jamil finished speaking, Yun Jian's words rang out. Her words resounded throughout the entire place. Chief Instructor, your people are delusional enough to offend me. Are you going to let it go just like that? After Yun Jian finished speaking, everyone present was shocked, especially my Dan, who had wanted to make a move on Yun Jian from the very beginning. All the surrounding students were stunned. What was this place? This was a hunting school. No matter how much Jamil disliked Buddy, he was still Jamil's subordinate. And Yun Jian actually dared to publicly ask Jamil to punish Buddy? Was she joking? Did he want to die? Are you ordering me around? Jamil suddenly stopped smiling. He cast a sidelong glance at Yun Jian. The sinister look on his face made everyone present slightly fearful. Don't you know that the people who dared to order me around have already gone to see the King of Hell? Jamil's sinister face instantly changed. He suddenly glared at Yun Jian. His voice unconsciously rose as he said something that made everyone's hearts tighten. Everyone's hearts tightened. They were clearly shocked by Jamil's sudden change in tone. Is that so? What a coincidence. The people who wanted to offend me have already. Yun Jian looked into Jamil's eyes. She spoke in front of everyone without the slightest bit of fear. Yun Jian suddenly paused. She cast a sidelong glance at Buddy. However, under everyone's shocked gazes, Yun Jian flipped her right hand. A butterfly knife suddenly appeared. The butterfly knife twirled between her fingers and suddenly flew toward Buddy. When the naked Buddy saw this, he was so frightened that he threw himself to the side. However, this butterfly knife seemed to have known where he was going to dodge. It actually sliced through Buddy's throat at a frightening speed, killing him on the spot. The butterfly knife flew past Buddy's throat, pierced a tree, and bounced back. In front of all the students, including 211 and the group of women who were in cahoots with 211, Yunjian easily caught it in her hand again. This process happened in 2 seconds. When Lin Wei saw this, his eyes flashed. This move, however, in front of everyone, Yunjian's lips curled up slightly. Everyone was terrified. They couldn't believe that she had the ability and speed to kill Buddy with a butterfly knife in just 2 seconds. At this moment, Yunjian followed up with 2 terrifying words. Chapter 1883. With that, Buddy's body fell to the ground at a speed that everyone present could see clearly. With a bang, his body fell to the ground, causing everyone's hearts to tremble slightly. Coupled with the shocking saber technique and speed that Yunjian had just displayed in front of everyone. In 2 seconds, not only did she kill Buddy, but she also bounced the saber back and held it in her hand. One had to know that Buddy was not weak. As the subordinate of the hunting school's chief instructor, Jamil, how could Buddy be weak? Furthermore, Buddy was Jamil's subordinate. He had seen Yunjian attack Buddy with his own eyes, and Jamil had protected Buddy just now. If Jamil could stop it, he would definitely not watch Buddy's throat be slit by Yunjian. However, the problem now was that Yunjian had killed Buddy in front of Jamil. Her skills were so powerful that no one could see it with the naked eye. Jamil did not even have the chance to react. He could only watch as Buddy fell to the ground. This speed of the saber, this killing move, not only did everyone present widen their eyes in shock, it also made Jamil, who had always been mysterious and calm, reveal a dumbfounded expression. Ah, and the group of women in 211's group screamed in fright. This group of women pinched their throats and screamed from the bottom of their hearts. The group of women in 211's group was different from Yiling. They had walked the opposite path from Yiling a long time ago, to be the slaves of this group of men. As for Yiling, she had grown up in the midst of killing and surviving. She had become a member of 211. All of these women combined were not as strong as Yiling alone. However, this was only when facing the group of women in 211. Compared to the others in the hunting school, Yiling's strength was still not enough. Although 211 and the others, who were even weaker than Yiling, were used to seeing dead people, when they saw Buddy die in front of them, they were still so frightened that their bodies trembled. It was as if they had seen some kind of horrifying scene. Of course, 211 was the one who was most afraid. After all, 211 was also one of the people who came up with the plan for Buddy's death. Jamil's face darkened, but he did not say anything. He also did not show the grief of losing his subordinate. It had to be said that Yunjian's strength was too shocking. This kind of power. Even he, Jamil, would not be able to resist in the hands of Yunjian. She was such a young girl, yet she possessed such a terrifying strength. Why did someone like her come to the hunting school? Her strength couldn't be greatly expanded in the hunting school, could it? Jamil frowned. Suddenly, the group of women from 211 screamed and cried out in fear. It was like a piece of music, but it was so hoarse that they couldn't even speak clearly. It was very unpleasant to the ears. When the surrounding men heard the screams of the women in 211, they couldn't help but frown, but they didn't say anything. Shut up. Just as the screams of the women from 211 rang out, a soft shout suddenly rang out. These 2 words were filled with decisiveness, causing the women from 211 to shut their mouths in fright. They saw the owner of the voice holding the butterfly knife that was not stained by Buddy's blood. She stood there and turned her sharp eyes to 211. The moment Yunjian spoke, 211's body trembled. His body unconsciously trembled twice, and he obediently shut up. SS. At this moment, Lin Wei's deep eyes flashed fiercely. He looked at Yunjian and spoke again in front of everyone. This time, what came out of Lin Wei's mouth was not a question, but a confirmation of a person's identity. After speaking, Lin Wei's eyes were as sharp as swords. He turned his head to look at Yun Jian. In front of the group of people who were attracted by the word SS again, he spoke to Yun Jian and said the longest sentence Lin Wei had ever said. Chapter 1884. As Lin Wei's voice fell, everyone's eyes widened in disbelief. Lin Wei, he actually said such a long sentence. One must know that Lin Wei, one of the 4 leaders of the Inhun organization, would never speak more than 3 sentences. Except when facing the leader of the Inhun organization. Reticent, this title was not for nothing. Lin Wei's reticence had reached a whole new level. Sometimes, when he did not want to speak, he would just ignore people. This kind of thing was very common. But just now, Lin Wei actually said such a long sentence to Yun Jian. This made everyone present feel incredulous. As for what Lin Wei said, no one present understood. It was because Lin Wei had spoken to Yun Jian in Russian. The only thing that made everyone present understand was that Lin Wei's words were very long. Therefore, everyone present took a deep breath. In the end, when they finally reacted, Jamil looked at Lin Wei and said respectfully and carefully to Lin Wei, "Sir Lin Wei, you spoke to this little girl in a foreign language, can she understand?" No one present could understand Russian. Including Jamil. That was why Jamil asked. Naturally, she could understand because most of Yun Jian's foreign language was learned in the Inhun organization's assassin training camp. And Lin Wei, without a doubt, was the one who taught her. Yun Jian was trained by Lin Wei. But Lin Wei did not say a word of this to Jamil. Seeing this, Jamil only twitched the corner of his mouth and did not dare to ask any more. Under the gaze of Mai Dan, Chen Yang, Ding Jianlin, and everyone else present, Yun Jian smiled and replied to Lin Wei in fluent Celtic, which was also words that no one present could understand. "This is what you taught me back then." Were these 2 addicted to speaking in foreign languages? Lin Wei spoke to Yun Jian in Russian, but Yun Jian spoke to Lin Wei in Celtic. Obviously, Yun Jian could understand Lin Wei's words, and Lin Wei could also understand Yun Jian's reply. But everyone present could only hear that Lin Wei's first sentence and Yun Jian's second sentence were different. In just a few sentences, the 2 of them had already spoken 2 different languages. Everyone present was shocked. Especially Yun Jian, she was so young, but had such amazing skills. What was even more frightening was that she could speak so many foreign languages. "It is my honor to be able to teach young madam." Suddenly, Lin Wei bowed to Yun Jian respectfully in front of everyone's gawking eyes. This time, he spoke in Polish. The people around them were shocked by Lin Wei's sudden bow to Yun Jian. Lin Wei, one of the 4 leaders of an Hun group, was bowing to Yun Jian in front of everyone? What did this mean? Yun Jian merely smirked and did not say anything else. However, the group of people around him was in a state of shock. The 2 of them spoke 3 different languages at the same time. It was really, after everyone had sorted out their thoughts, Jamil turned to look at Lin Wei and asked, "Sir Lin Wei, could she be someone to you?" This sentence was a test, and also to find out the bottom line. If Yun Jian was really someone to Lin Wei, then Buddy's death would turn into smoke. On the other hand, Jamil would never let it go. Unexpectedly, in front of everyone, Lin Wei cast a sidelong glance at the people around him, then stared at Jamil with his deep black eyes. He left behind a sentence that left everyone slightly stunned. Chapter 1885. Lin Wei's words were a piece of advice and a warning. He was telling Jamil and the others that Yun Jian was under the protection of the Inhun organization. No one was allowed to touch her. Anyone who disobeyed would be going against the Inhun organization. Lin Wei was usually a man of few words and would never joke. To be honest, people with low EQ like Lin Wei did not know how to joke at all. Hence, everyone knew that Lin Wei's words carried weight. And what he said was absolutely true. Jamil originally thought that Yun Jian would at most ask Lin Wei to keep an eye on her, so he was still considering if he should continue to do the questions because of Buddy. However, Jamil never expected Lin Wei to say something like that. Offending Yun Jian was equivalent to starting a war with the Inhun organization. Who exactly was she? How could she cause the Inhun organization to say something like that just because of her? The group of special forces soldiers around them, including the group of women from 211, were completely shocked. Everyone present had an illusion for a moment. If they offended Yun Jian, they would end up in a very bad state. After Lin Wei said that, he already thought of the miserable fate of this group of people if Yun Jian lost even a strand of hair. He retracted his gaze, turned around, and left without looking back with his right hand in his trouser pocket. Jamil swallowed hard. In the end, he didn't even dare to say a word to Yun Jian. Buddy's death naturally turned into smoke. After returning, they were supposed to undergo intensive training. However, because of this incident, Jamil directly asked all the students to return to their own dormitories. After returning to the dormitory, Yun Jian did whatever she was supposed to do. She showered, ate, and practiced at night. 3 days later, Yi Ling, who had been locked in Lin Wei's room for 3 days without going out, finally heard the news of Buddy's death. For some reason, Yi Ling heaved a sigh of relief. God knew how she had spent the past 3 days. Being in the same room with a man who wanted her to give birth to his child all the time, these days, Yi Ling didn't dare to sleep on the same bed as Lin Wei. At first, Lin Wei slept on the bed while Yi Ling hid in a corner of the room. Seeing this, Lin Wei grabbed Yi Ling and placed her on the bed. Seeing Yi Ling's resistance, Lin Wei, who didn't intend to do anything, directly put his hand around Yi Ling's waist and touched her plump bottom. Lust ignited, Lin Wei flipped over on top. In the end, Yi Ling resisted with all her might. When Yi Ling's jacket was half taken off, Lin Wei stopped. He hugged her and whispered, "Sleep." Then he closed his eyes. Yi Ling did not dare to resist. After hearing about Buddy's death, Yi Ling heaved a sigh of relief. As long as Buddy was dead, he would no longer be a threat when he returned to the female dormitory. The only person who had been spying on her was Buddy. Today, Yi Ling stayed in Lin Wei's room and waited for him to come back. She wanted to clarify things with Lin Wei. Buddy was already dead, so she didn't have to be afraid anymore. So, everything that had happened before could be forgotten. With a creak, the door opened, and Lin Wei's handsome face was the first to appear. Yi Ling stood up from the bed, but she put her hands behind her back helplessly. Her beautiful sky-blue eyes stared at Lin Wei without blinking. Being stared back at by Lin Wei, Yi Ling blinked her eyes guiltily. Her long and narrow eyelashes fluttered slightly. Looking at her, she was extremely cute. Can I go back and stay with Yun Jian? Seeing Lin Wei stare at her, Yi Ling felt a chill run down her spine. She didn't dare to mention what she had already thought of to say to Lin Wei. She suddenly opened her mouth helplessly. Forget it. She would go back to the female dormitory first. When Lin Wei came looking for her again, she would explain everything and make everything clear at once. Also, he had to apologize to him properly for using him. Chapter 1886. Lin Wei's words never left any room for rejection. Yi Ling blinked her eyes. Suddenly, tears flashed in her sky-blue eyes. What's wrong? Seeing a trace of tears suddenly flash across Yi Ling's eyes, even a person as calm as Lin Wei couldn't help but feel a little helpless. It was just that Lin Wei didn't show his helplessness. I miss home. All of you are forcing me. I want to go home. I haven't been home for 10 years. Other than my father and mother, no one is really good to me. I don't even have the right to choose here. Yi Ling's sky-blue eyes suddenly flickered up and down. She blinked. She didn't know why, but she felt a lump in her throat and wanted to cry. Yi Ling was 19 years old this year, 6 years younger than Lin Wei. Lin Wei was 25 years old this year. Yi Ling was spoiled since she was young, so she developed a princess temper that wasn't easy to coax. She would argue with her parents if she didn't like it. She would act like her parents were harming her. It could be considered a very vile type. Yi Ling was only 9 years old back then. However, she was spoiled since she was young. The 9-year-old Yi Ling was even more exaggerated than those teenage boys and girls in their rebellious period. It was probably because people lived in different environments that some of their personalities would change. The young Yi Ling had been spoiled since she was young, so her rebellious phase was obviously much earlier than her peers. However, when she was 9 years old, Yi Ling ran away from home after arguing with her parents. She was brought to the hunting school and underwent 10 years of inhumane training. In these 10 years, Yi Ling hid in her bed and cried. She also thought about suicide. However, she survived. At this time, she finally understood how good her parents were. If you stayed at home and argued with your parents every day, you might even have the thought of never seeing your parents again for the rest of your life. Therefore, many students wanted to choose a place as far away from home as possible when they were choosing a university. That way, they would never see their parents again. However, when a person left their parents to live outside and saw the other side of society, they would crazily think of their parents. A university student, no matter how bad they were, would still go home and see their parents. But Yi Ling was different. After being brought to the hunting school, Yi Ling dreamed countless times about the parents she hated the most when she was young. They were the parents she wanted to see the most after experiencing the heartlessness of others in the hunting school. But even such a slim hope was too extravagant. All these years, Yi Ling had suppressed her immense pain in the bottom of her heart and displayed her most tenacious side in front of everyone. Because she believed that as long as she survived, she would be able to see her parents again. He couldn't die. He absolutely could not die. He absolutely could not give in. It was with this hope that Yi Ling managed to survive. Those who had never experienced this feeling would never understand that when faced with the cruelty of the world and the true disappointment of others, the easiest thing to think of was still the parents that you hated the most and were the most impatient to nag in your ears every day. Yi Ling didn't know what was wrong with her today. She actually squatted down and hugged herself while crying. She couldn't help but vent her emotions in front of Lin Wei. Her tears were like water flowing out of a faucet, flowing non-stop. Lin Wei's heart couldn't help but tighten when he saw this. Reaching out, Lin Wei grabbed Yi Ling's wrist and pulled her up from the floor into his warm embrace. I won't force you anymore. I'll make you bear children for me willingly. Lin Wei would never change the person he had set his mind on. In the female dormitory, Yun Jian was lying on the bed when the door was knocked lightly with a stone. Yun Jian opened the door and walked out to see Phantom's shadow waving at her from a grove not far away from the dormitory. CE had been writing her a letter almost every day recently and the content was unbearable. Yun Jian walked toward the grove. Taking the envelope from Phantom's shadow as usual, Yun Jian opened it and saw the familiar handwriting. Xiao Jian, I miss you so much. I really want you to be bedridden for 365 days. Yun Jian blushed at the sight. Just as Yun Jian was about to turn back to the dormitory, a familiar fresh scent came from behind Yun Jian as someone hugged her from behind. He hugged Yun Jian from behind and leaned down to her ear, smelling the scent that he was so familiar with and loved so much. He was instantly mesmerized. Chapter 1887. It was around 9:00 in the evening. Today's training had ended early. Usually, training would end at 11 o'clock. She would wake up at 5:00 the next day, so she only had 6 hours of sleep. Today's training had ended early, so Yun Jian took a shower and rested in the dormitory. It was the last part of autumn, so the wind at night was very strong and cold. She had to wear 2 layers of clothes during the day to not feel cold. At night, she had to wear a thick layer of clothes. When Yun Jian heard someone knocking on the door with a rock, she knew that it was Phantom's shadow. Since Phantom's shadow was here, he must have been sent by CE to deliver a letter. Thus, Yun Jian only put on a shirt and came out. After receiving the letter, Yun Jian hurriedly opened it. After reading the letter, she was hugged from behind by a pair of large hands. When she smelled the familiar scent, Yun Jian was suddenly moved. At this moment, Ce had his arms around Yunjian. He bent his lean back slightly and pressed his lips against the side of Yunjian's neck. It was as if he was smelling the fragrance that belonged to her. His heavy breathing hit Yunjian's neck. Yunjian's body trembled slightly from the numbness. At her abdomen, Ce's arms around Yunjian tightened. He suddenly felt that she was wearing very thin clothes. Thus, he frowned slightly and said in a low voice, "Why are you wearing so much? Why are you wearing so little? What if you catch a cold?" His heart would ache. Ce didn't say the last sentence. "I'm here to get the letter you sent me. After I get it, I'll go back to my room." Yunjian reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. She pursed her red lips. "Next time, you're not allowed to wear so little." As Ce spoke, he let go of Yunjian's hands from behind and took off his jacket to drape it over her body. "Okay." Yunjian nodded. She didn't know why, but when he said this, her heart felt warm. Ce hadn't rushed over in the middle of the night just to see her. To be honest, ever since Yunjian entered the hunting school, he knew her every move like the back of his hand. Including the fact that Yunjian was now living alone in her own dorm. 3 minutes later, Yunjian led Ce, who already had a plan, into her dorm. Once they entered the room, Ce locked the door that was not exactly secure. As he wished, Ce walked into the dormitory that used to have 4 people. Now, there was only Yunjian. As soon as he entered the dormitory, Ce's wolf nature erupted. Pressing Yunjian onto the bed, Ce pressed himself on top of her. His breathing was slightly heavy. He had been separated from Yunjian for a period of time. Although it had been less than a month, it had been more than 20 days. Once a man had sex, his mind would be filled with bad ideas. Ce was no exception. "Don't. This is..." Yunjian was about to resist Ce when Ce leaned over and kissed her little mouth. "It's in the room. It's in the room. She's hiding a man. I saw it with my own eyes. Master Jamil, I've even told you about this. You must protect me. I don't want to die. I don't want to die like Master Barty and die without knowing why." Outside the room, a large group of people was led by 211 to the door of Yunjian's dormitory. Even Lin Wei had been called over. But looking at Lin Wei's expression, it seemed like it had nothing to do with him. Inside the room, Yunjian was being pressed down by Ce. Before she could do anything, there was a sound from outside the door. Yunjian blinked. Ce narrowed his eyes. His most beautiful moment had been interrupted. At this moment, he had the urge to kill someone. Outside the room, 211 had already led everyone to the door. She pointed at Yunjian's dormitory aggressively and said to Jamil and Lin Wei, "Master Lin Wei, Master Jamil, 16 must be hiding a wild man in the room. She must be unable to stand the loneliness. Just now, I saw a man follow her into the dormitory with my own eyes. Our hunter school can't keep such people. Even if he's a student, we can't forgive him." Chapter 1888. The more she spoke, the more she felt that she was powerful. At night, the women in the dormitory next door were already lying in bed, and 211 was a snobbish woman to begin with. The status of 211's women in the hunting school was no different from prostitutes. Unlike Yiling, 211's women in the hunting school could be trampled on by any man. Perhaps other women felt that they had fallen and could just accept it with open thighs. But 211 was different. 211 would learn to climb up. She would climb up the social ladder and cling to people with higher status. Just like Buddy from before, he was someone 211 wanted to cling to. 211 knew how to use her body to seek benefits or to obtain protection. Tonight, 211 had just climbed to a new height. After finishing a few rounds of unspeakable things with that man, she rushed back late at night and saw Yunjian walking into her dormitory with a man. Now that Yiling was taken away by Master Lin Wei, this was something everyone knew. This meant that Yun Jian was the only one in the dormitory where Yi Ling used to live. When 211 saw Yun Jian walk into her dormitory with a man, she felt a burst of excitement. The hunting school's system was very strict. Students were absolutely not allowed to have an affair with anyone. So when she saw that a man actually followed Yun Jian into Yun Jian's dormitory, 211 immediately ran to find Jamil, Lin Wei, and everyone else to come over. Halfway through, she also alarmed the people who were this year's hunting school students like Yun Jian. After being called over by 211's exaggerated words, everyone followed. 211's words were very loud. At this moment, standing in the female dormitory, she attracted the women in the other dormitories. At this time, the women were all waiting to see Yun Jian make a fool of herself. Hearing 211's words, Lin Wei's eyes flashed slightly. Before Jamil could speak, Lin Wei said, "She won't steal a man. Except for the young master. Master Lin Wei, you know her. If you want to side with her, then I have nothing to say. But is she treating our hunting school's rules like child's play?" NB 211 stood beside Jamil and used his body to touch Jamil while saying these words at the same time. Jamil was not someone who could be seduced by beauty. He pushed 211 away and was about to speak when the door to Yun Jian's dormitory opened. Yun Jian appeared in front of everyone. Not long after her shower, she put on a tight-fitting outfit with a jacket on the outside and a pair of black, tight-fitting trousers that accentuated her perfect figure to the fullest. At this time, Yun Jian gave people a kind of unusual beauty. A large group of men present were dumbfounded. They couldn't help but hold their breaths. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. Yun Jian was slightly jealous when she looked at him and sneered. "Yes, there is a man." She actually admitted it. 211's eyes bulged. Just as 211 was about to use this as a pretext to make a fuss, he saw Yun Jian's cold smile. Just as 211 thought Yun Jian would say something to refute him, Yun Jian flipped her hand and actually, she took out the butterfly knife again. Butterfly knife. The scene of Buddy's death was forever engraved in 211's heart. 211 was so frightened that his face changed. He quickly hid behind Jamil. Jamil's expression changed. Although Lin Wei warned him that Yun Jian was protected by an Hun, Jamil still wanted to teach Yun Jian a lesson. Otherwise, Yun Jian would be so arrogant. Was she trying to climb over his head? Ahem, since you have already admitted that you are hiding a man in your dormitory, then according to the rules of our hunting school students who are not allowed to have illicit relations with others during training, you, just as Jamil said this, he saw a tall figure flash out of Yun Jian's dormitory door. That person had a breathtakingly handsome face. It was as if this world couldn't nurture such a handsome person. Everyone present took in a deep breath. For a moment, they were in a daze. This person really existed in this world. They saw that after Ce walked out of the door, his eyes were fixed on Yun Jian. He walked to Yun Jian in front of everyone and reached out to hold Yun Jian's small hand. Just as everyone was shocked by the picturesque scene in front of them, Zhang Xian's eyes lit up. Suddenly, Lin Wei, who was standing beside Jamil, stood in front of Ce and bowed slightly. Just like that, he respectfully addressed Ce in front of everyone. Chapter 1889. Lin Wei suddenly took a step forward and bowed at the unbelievably handsome man. His low exclamation made everyone's jaws drop. Jamil was so shocked that he blanched, unable to snap back to reality for a long time. Young head. A man that Lin Wei addressed as young head. A man that even Lin Wei, one of the 4 leaders of an Hun group, had to treat with respect. Jamil was not the only one who was stunned. All the students around, including 211 who called Ce a wild man, were stupefied. There was only one doubt in everyone's mind. Who was this man who made Lin Wei lower his head? Ce grabbed Yun Jian's hand and played with it gently in his large palm. His gaze was fixed on her throughout, but he replied to Lin Wei coldly. Ce rubbed Yun Jian's soft hand. He did not look up at the crowd, but his innate aura forced everyone to stare at him. After a moment of silence, Ce spoke. His nonchalant manner made it seem like nothing in the world could catch his eye other than Yunjian. I heard that someone called me a wild man just now. As Ce spoke, he brought Yunjian's hand to his large palm and interlocked their fingers. His Xiao Jian was beautiful. She was beautiful everywhere. She was beautiful, her hands were beautiful too. Xiao Jian was the prettiest under him. If Yunjian knew that Ce was thinking about this right now, she would probably give Ce a good thrashing. There was no need to guess what Ce was thinking. Since Ce had said that, it meant that he was furious. What angered Ce the most was not that he was a wild man. It was that 211 had just said that his Xiao Jian was hiding a wild man. Did that mean that Yunjian was hiding another man other than him? Of course, Ce believed that Yunjian would never do such a thing. In spite of it, 211 purposely made everyone think that Ce was annoyed to hear it. Young master, I'll get rid of the trash now. Even the usually calm Lin Wei couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat after hearing Ce's words. After Lin Wei finished speaking, he directly took out a pistol from his belt and pointed the muzzle at 211. No one connected the fact that Lin Wei addressed Ce as young master with the possibility that Ce was the leader of an Han organization. Lin Wei only listened to an Han's leader. But, how could the leader of an Han be here? How could it be Ce? After all, Ce was still young. The people around them were all old foxes. Usually, the more ordinary a person was, the more realistic their guesses were. However, these old foxes would only make things more complicated. Could it be that the man standing beside Yunjian was a reclusive subordinate of an Han's leader? His position was higher than the 4 leaders of an Han organization. Even if it was an illusion, no one would link the identity of an Han's leader to Ce. The more experienced they were, the more they would overthink and the further the truth would be from them. Ah! Gun! Gun! Ah! Don't kill me. When 211 saw that Lin Wei had pointed the gun at her, she shuddered in fear and turned to run. 211 did not expect that she had only wanted to embarrass Yunjian today so that she would be rewarded for reporting the incident. However, she had never thought that she would actually bring about a fatal disaster. However, before 211 could run out, Lin Wei's gun hit 211's heart with a bang, not missing by a hair's breadth. The surrounding people were so shocked that they sucked in a deep breath. The group of women who were with 211 saw 211's eyes widen and fell to the ground with his eyes wide open. They were so scared that they didn't dare to move. Dead. 211, dead. Compared to the people around him, Jamil's thoughts were much more meticulous. He had already guessed half of Ce's identity. Just as Jamil was unable to obtain a definite answer, Lin Wei suddenly turned to look at Jamil. He gave Jamil and the people around him a solemn warning. Chapter 1890. On the ground, 211's corpse reminded everyone that she had paid the price of her life for provoking this handsome man. The people around them didn't think much of it, but Jamil's eyes were wide open. Wasn't Lin Wei's words hinting to him indirectly? This handsome man whom Lin Wei respectfully addressed as young master, was the leader of an Han. Oh my God. The leader of an Han. He actually had an affair with his cohort student. In addition, Lin Wei had warned Jamil that if he provoked Yunjian, an Han would definitely not stand by and watch. Jamil completely understood why Lin Wei had used such a solemn tone to warn him. That was because Yunjian was an Han's leader's woman. This truth was too scary, so scary that after knowing the truth, Jamil didn't even dare to reveal a single word of it to anyone present. Jamil believed that if the identity of an Han's leader was revealed, he would definitely die a horrible death. This was a secret that was completely unspeakable. Jamil, who knew the truth, was so scared that his face turned pale. At this moment, even if Lin Wei stood up and said that Ce wasn't an Han's leader, Jamil wouldn't believe it. It wasn't just because of the flaw that was revealed earlier. This time, Lin Wei's words were broken by 3 sentences again. Other than Yun Jian, Lin Wei would only speak more than 3 sentences in front of one person. That person was In Hun's leader. Thinking about it this way, it wasn't so unbelievable that Lin Wei had spoken more than 3 words in front of Yun Jian. After all, Yun Jian was In Hun's leader's woman. Hurry up and clean up this trash. Jamil didn't dare to say anything else. He pointed at 211's corpse and shouted at his subordinate beside him. This subordinate quickly found someone to take care of this matter. I don't know if someone from In Hun is here. I'm sorry for offending you just now. May I invite you to my place? Jamil walked over and looked at Ce respectfully. Because he was a little scared, he stuttered a little. All the students around, including the group of women who were with 211 and Gemel's subordinates, didn't have Gemel's brain. Therefore, they only thought that Ce was someone from Lin Wei or someone with a higher status in an Hun organization that the secular world didn't know about. Who would have guessed that Ce was the leader of An Hun? Jamil was probably the only one who could guess this. Jamil, who knew the truth, was really scared to death. His body was trembling, and the strong aura he had when he first appeared was completely dispersed in front of Ce. The way Jamil invited Ce was as if he was afraid that Ce would reject him. However, just when Jamil thought that Ce would not agree, Ce suddenly grabbed Yun Jian's small hand and finally turned her gaze to Jamil. That pair of sharp and deep black eyes stared at Jamil, causing him to feel a wave of panic. The young master has agreed. Why aren't you leading the way? Lin Wei glared at Jamil and spoke concisely. Yes, yes, yes. Hearing this, Jamil quickly led the way. That sudden change in his respectful attitude made everyone present feel like they were hallucinating for a moment. Chapter 1891. No one dared to say anything when Jamil asked Ce to leave. Yun Jian did not tag along either. It was Ce who did not want Yun Jian to tag along. Yun Jian could tell that Ce's gaze when he turned to look at her had a hint of lust. It was like he was plotting something in secret. Before he left, Ce bent down and whispered something that only the two of them could hear. Xiao Jian, wait for me tonight. Hearing Ce's words, Yun Jian was reminded of certain embarrassing scenes. Blushing, Yun Jian pushed Ce who was leaning against her away. It was only then that Ce flashed a handsome smile and left with Jamil. After being asked to leave by Jamil, Ce came back around 10 o'clock. However, Yun Jian did not let him have any meat tonight. Ce was very uncomfortable about it, but he did not force Yun Jian at all. It was just that the soundproofing here was terrible, so bad that, even if one went to the washroom, the people in the dormitory next door could hear them doing so. This was similar to the time when he went to his grandpa's house in the countryside with Chen Sini. Chen Sini's cousin could be heard farting in the room next door. It was mysteriously similar. Moreover, there were many women in the room next door. If Ce did something weird to her, how could he not be noticed? Hence, Ce could only hold back his desire. In fact, he wished that everyone knew that his Xiao Jian was only his. The next morning, when the sun was still up, Yun Jian and the others did not even have time to do their morning exercises before Jamil called them to a corner to begin the next round of training. All of you are special forces from all over the world. You must master survival skills in the wild, so from today onwards, all of you will undergo a month-long wilderness survival training. In this month, all of you must use your own hands to search for food. Before entering the forest, I'll give each of you a dagger. Other than that, no one is allowed to bring anything else. My request is that even if you die in the forest, you're not allowed to retreat. I won't give you any tools to call for help. It will only increase the difficulty of your survival in the wild. Now, let's go. Jamil said in a simple and clear manner. Survival in the wild was an essential skill for the group of people present. If it was the previous survival training that Yun Jian encountered, they would definitely be given a rescue tool or something to give up halfway before entering the forest. Here, however, Jamil would not give them the chance to give up. If you can't make it, you have to die. This kind of training could increase a person's fighting spirit by 100-fold. There was no room for retreat, so they could only move forward. What Yun Jian could not understand was why Ce was with her. Moreover, he was still holding her hand as they walked in this place where wild beasts roamed freely as if they were admiring the scenery. Walala, not long after they entered the forest, it started raining. Without a word, Ce took off his jacket and draped it over her head to shield her from the rain before holding her hand to look for a shelter nearby. There's a cave over there. Xiao Jian, let's go hide from the rain, Ce said as he tugged Yun Jian's hand and led her to a large cave. The cave was rather spacious and the entrance was covered by vines. Ce was skilled in survival in the wild. There was no need for Yun Jian to do anything. Before long, Ce had already picked up some firewood and started a fire. Ce's jacket was wet but Yun Jian was unscathed because she had the jacket draped over her. Ce, on the other hand, was drenched from the rain earlier. Yun Jian could tell that the clothes and jacket he was wearing were all bought by her. Their colors had already faded. With a squint, Yun Jian suddenly leaned her head on Ce's shoulder. She thought that she was blessed. Xiao Jian. Not long after Yun Jian rested her head on Ce's shoulder, she heard his heavy breathing. In the next second, Yun Jian felt the world spin around her. He flipped over and pinned her beneath him, using the jacket that was not too wet to cushion her. Yun Jian realized what he was going to do right away. Don't. Not here. Yun Jian blushed when he was about to rip her clothes off. Xiao Jian, you're mine. Ce whispered in Yun Jian's ear. He directly pressed her two eyesore hands above her head. Chapter 1892. Over there. There's a cave over there. Let's go in and hide. It's raining so heavily. Oh my God, it's raining just like that. It's almost winter, not summer. The weather is so unpredictable. Hurry, hurry. Hide in the cave. My clothes are about to get wet. There were sounds of people and hurried footsteps in the forest. Yun Jian, who was pressed under Ce's body, blinked. At this moment, both she and Ce were still disheveled. But at this moment, someone came. At this moment, the sounds of people outside were already in front of the cave. Outside the cave. At the sight of this huge cave, a group of people hurriedly ran over from afar. Braving the rain, they used their own backpacks and coats to block the increasingly heavy rainwater and rushed to the front of the cave in a short while. These people were conversing in Chinese. This forest was located in the tropical rainforest of Venezuela. To be able to hear Chinese here was equivalent to meeting Z people. It was very rare. In addition, due to the altitude and water source, it was possible to have both a tropical rainforest and a wasteland in the same place. In other words, the world here looked like it was about to become a desert, but there were trees. However, the trees were very withered due to the lack of water. In such a place, even if Z people were to travel, they probably wouldn't choose the tropical rainforest of Venezuela. But it was in such a place that a group of Z people appeared here. This group of people complained as they walked to the entrance of the cave. When they reached the entrance, they were shocked and stunned. Among them, a strong male voice saw a slight flickering light in the cave and was surprised. There's firewood in this cave. Is there someone? As he said that, he led the group into the cave. Because there was firewood in the cave, they could only see the flickering light in the cave. Other than the surroundings of the firewood, everything in the cave was pitch black. But when this group of people walked into the cave, they saw that the firewood illuminated everything in the cave. Yun Jian had just tidied up her clothes when she saw this group of Z people entering the cave from the outside. This group of people saw the firewood before entering the cave and was prepared to see someone in the cave. But when they saw the people, they were still a little shocked. Yun Jian and Ce didn't show any signs of shock. Ce's face was full of displeasure. There's someone here. You. Hello. The leader of the group, a man who was almost 30 years old, saw Yunjian and Ce and said to Yunjian and Ce. Yunjian and Ce ignored him. Ce was already lucky that she didn't kill anyone. The man did not feel awkward as he scratched his head and smiled at Yunjian and Ce. Sorry, we didn't know there were people here. It's raining outside, so we came in to take shelter. The man laughed and said, I see that the two of you are also from Z country, right? Huh, my name is Meng Zhang. They are my teammates. The man named Meng Zhang didn't realize that he had interrupted something good. He smiled at Yunjian and Ce in a friendly manner and introduced his four teammates. Then, he looked at Yunjian and Ce and asked, by the way, are you too, like us? Are you here to investigate the strange incident that happened here? Yunjian's eyes flashed when she heard Meng Zhang's words. She asked, what incident? Brother Meng, I think they just got lost in the forest. How could they be here to investigate that incident? Instead of wasting time talking to them, it's better to pack up and continue moving forward when the rain stops. A short man standing next to Meng Zhang said. Meng Zhang looked to be close to 30 years old. He had a crew cut and was straightforward. He had the demeanor of a big brother. The short man standing beside Meng Zhang had an enigmatic expression. He glared at Yunjian and Ce, as though Yunjian and Ce were his enemies. The short man didn't look good. His nose was a little crooked, his face was thin, and his cheeks were sunken. This short man was called Wu Tianlin. Meng Zhang had 4 teammates. There were 5 of them in total. After Wu Tianlin spoke rudely, Meng Zhang reprimanded him. Then, he apologized to Yunjian and Ce. Sorry, he's just like that. He has a sharp tongue, but he doesn't have a bad heart. The 5 of us are part of a small investigation team. You might not know, but not long ago, we heard that someone was suddenly swept into another world. That world is completely different from here. There are immortal cultivators there. The strong ones can even fly. Horses have wings, and there are all kinds of magical beasts. In other words, no one in the Yulong continent, the other continents, or even the deity continent could do this. Then, who opened the entrance to the continent near the hunting school? Are you looking for the entrance to that world? Yunjian suddenly turned to look at Meng Zhang and asked. Yes. Meng Zhang nodded. Then, do you know where the entrance is? Yunjian asked again. I have some clues, but I don't know the exact location. Meng Zhang replied. Are you guys thinking of going together? Brother Meng, you can't do that. Look at how skinny and weak they are. What if they drag us down? Yunjian had just asked this question when Wu Tianlin, who had been silent all this while, suddenly spoke up in a serious tone. After saying this, Wu Tianlin glared at Yunjian fiercely. Yeah, I think so too. A woman standing behind Meng Zhang spoke up at this time. This woman was also a member of Meng Zhang's scouting team. Her name was Wan Menglin. Wan Menglin looked mature and spoke steadily. Although she didn't despise Yunjian and Ce, she agreed with what Wu Tianlin said. Even if we find a way to go to the other world, with their skills, it's still a problem whether they can protect themselves. After all, we were trained in Taekwondo. Chapter 1894. After all, Yunjian and Ce were still young. Yunjian was still underage, and Ce looked like she was in her early 20s. At this age, she should still be in high school or university, right? She should still be a student, right? Wan Menglin and Wu Tianlin were members of the scouting team, and Meng Zhang was obviously the leader of the 5. Don't blame Wan Menglin and Wu Tianlin for being selfish. That was human nature. Yunjian's tone just now clearly indicated that she was interested in another world. Therefore, Wan Menglin and Wu Tianlin immediately assumed that Yunjian wanted to join in the fun. After all, she was a young girl. She would definitely want to join in the fun after discovering something so interesting. I do want to go. After hearing Wu Tianlin and Wan Menglan's words, Yun Jian didn't get angry. Instead, she said it very calmly. Although Wu Tianlin and Wan Menglan's words sounded like they were attacking Yun Jian, it was human nature. That was how human nature was. Let's use a simple example. For example, when you were playing a game, you would hope that you would be matched with a strong opponent, not a weak chicken. If you were matched with a weak chicken, even if you didn't directly attack them, you would definitely be unhappy after being tricked. This was human nature. Wu Tianlin and Wan Menglan were people who spoke their minds. They were afraid that Yun Jian and Ce would shamelessly want to go with them and drag them down. Now, after hearing Yun Jian's words, Wu Tianlin and Wan Menglan were even more certain that Yun Jian wanted to shamelessly go with them. Therefore, Wu Tianlin and Wan Menglan's expressions became very ugly. Especially Wu Tianlin, who didn't have a filter and directly blurted out the harshest words. His words were directed at Yun Jian. Little girl, take a good look at your own weight. You still want to drag us down? You. Wu Tianlin raised his hand and walked up to Yun Jian in 2 steps. He clenched his hand into a fist, then raised it above Yun Jian's head and swung it twice. Wu Tianlin was about the same height as Yun Jian. Yun Jian was 1.65 meters tall. However, even if a man was the same height as a woman, he would still look much shorter than a woman. Standing in front of Yun Jian, Wu Tianlin felt as if he was shorter than Yun Jian. Wu Tianlin raised his hand to place his fist on top of Yun Jian's head, trying his best to raise it up. Before he could finish his words, Yun Jian's voice was heard. Wu Tianlin only felt a large, bony palm grabbing his hand and squeezing it hard. Then, a long, slender leg came kicking at him. Wu Tianlin didn't even see who did it. He was kicked to the wall of the cave, and then fell to the ground. This fall almost made Wu Tianlin vomit. Tianlin. Wan Menglan's pupils shrank when she saw this. She ran over to help Wu Tianlin up. Meng Zhang didn't look down on Yun Jian and Ce from the beginning. However, when he saw the scene just now, his pupils were wide open. It was obvious that he was scared out of his wits. Everyone present saw it very clearly. Although the cave was only lit by a small fire, the moment Wu Tianlin scolded Yun Jian and wanted to clench his fists to threaten her, Yun Jian's eyes lit up when she saw Wu Tianlin. Ce, who had been silent all this time, grabbed Wu Tianlin's hand and sent him flying with a kick. His movements were so fast that he was like a ghost. Everyone at the scene was completely shocked. No one could have imagined that this young man in his early 20s would have the ability to move so fast that the naked eye couldn't catch his movements. Just as Wan Menglan helped Wu Tianlin up, Ce had already grabbed Yun Jian's small hand. His cold gaze swept across the crowd, and his cold words made everyone's hearts tremble. His words were directed at Wu Tianlin. Chapter 1895. Wu Tianlin had merely clenched his fist and placed it in front of Yun Jian. He had remained silent the entire time and even acted as if he hadn't heard such a strange thing. Ce, who wasn't interested at all, kicked Wu Tianlin away. This action caused everyone present to go crazy. Not only did Ce make a move because of this, but what was even more shocking was that Ce actually had such valiant strength. The 5 people led by Meng Zhang were not only a small scouting team, but they had also undergone formal taekwondo training. They were also considered taekwondo experts. Although Wan Menglan admitted that there were many powerful people in this world, she never imagined that Ce, who she had looked down on and thought was just a student, would actually have such frightening abilities. Could it be that you also learned taekwondo? Or sanda? Judo? Wan Menglan was shocked by Ce's appearance just now. At the same time, she was slightly captivated by Ce's handsome looks. Wan Menglan's knowledge was probably limited to that. Wan Menglan didn't think that a powerful person could learn anything other than taekwondo, sanda, or judo. He wasn't some secret agent or assassin from the international black market. There was only so much that an ordinary person could learn. Wan Menglan was already 25 years old this year, but to be honest, Siyi's handsome appearance just now had indeed attracted her. Therefore, when she asked Siyi, Wan Menglan was very much looking forward to Siyi's reply. Unexpectedly, Siyi grabbed Yunjian's small hand and stood to the side. He stared at her and didn't look away. Wan Menglan's mouth twitched when she saw this. What's so good about a sneak attack? Do you think you're so powerful? Wu Tianlin, who had been kicked by Siyi, shouted at Siyi when he regained his senses. Wu Tianlin then turned to look at Yunjian. Perhaps it was because of what Siyi had said, but Wu Tianlin didn't dare point fingers at Yunjian. He just looked at Yunjian and mocked her disdainfully. She's just a woman who's being protected by a man. She's nothing. Wu Tianlin was obviously a man with a very bad temper. He didn't know how to hide his emotions, but he showed his most irritable side to the public. It was very easy for such a person to get into trouble when he met someone who really played dirty. Wan Menglan was obviously smarter than Wu Tianlan. At this moment, Wan Menglan, who had witnessed Siyi's skills and had developed a favorable impression of Siyi, spoke up. She spoke tactfully but mercilessly to Yunjian. You're a girl. It's good to be protected by your boyfriend. But for a girl like you, it's better not to go with him. How about this? You don't have to go. Let your boyfriend go with us. When he comes back, he can tell you about the other world. That way, she could be alone with Siyi. Wan Menglan's face turned red as she thought about it. Everyone thought that Yunjian was very weak. But after Wan Menglan said this, Yunjian ignored her. Yunjian just leaned her head on Siyi's shoulder and leaned her full breasts against Siyi's chest. She closed her eyes. Seeing Yunjian like this, Wan Menglan clenched her fists. In the end, she couldn't say anything. She must be doing it on purpose. Siyi enjoyed this feeling very much. It was soft. An hour later, the rain stopped. Yunjian and Siyi wouldn't stay here for long. The same went for Meng Zhang and the others. Yunjian, Siyi, and Meng Zhang's group of 5 had just walked out. A few figures appeared on the right side of the forest. The moment Yunjian saw them, her eyes narrowed slightly. The leader was actually Maidan, who had always been at odds with her. He had threatened her earlier that if she dared to come to the hunting school, he would kill her. Maidan walked over step by step. He looked at Yunjian ferociously. Suddenly, he revealed a strange smile in front of everyone. Then, he looked at Yunjian and said, 16, you're really here. Haha. I've said it before. If you dare to enter the hunting school, I'll make sure you won't be able to walk out of here. Today, I'll make it happen. Looking at Maidan's expression, it seemed like he had something to use against Yunjian. Hearing Maidan's words, Meng Zhang, Wu Tianlin, Wan Menglan, and the others' pupils shrank. They exclaimed in confusion, hunting school? 16. This is. Maidan thought that Meng Zhang, Wan Menglan, and the others were Yunjian's friends. Hence, he sneered and exaggerated the truth in front of Meng Zhang and the others. Chapter 1896. As Maidan spoke, she smiled as she took out a folding scimitar from her pocket. She held the folding scimitar in her hand and waved it lightly, then pointed the blade at Yunjian. Maidan's actions were to intimidate Meng Zhang, Wu Tianlin, and Wan Menglan. It wasn't a coincidence that Maidan was able to find this place. From the moment Yunjian and Siyi entered the forest, Maidan had already bribed the person in charge of the hunting school's wilderness survival mission to obtain the location of Yunjian and Siyi when they were brought into the forest. If a normal person wanted to move from one location to another, it would definitely take some time to walk. When they entered the forest, it happened to be raining, and there was only one cave nearby that could shelter them from the rain. Thus, Maidan easily found Yunjian and Siyi. Seeing Yun Jian standing with Meng Zhang and the others, she naturally thought that they were her friends. Thus, my Dan didn't directly make a move. Instead, she used threatening words to make Yun Jian lose Wan Menglan and the others as friends. Reality proved that my Dan's threat was very successful. After hearing my Dan's words, Meng Zhang and the others did indeed show a frightened expression. Especially Wu Tianlin and Wan Menglan, who were the most unfriendly towards Yun Jian. Wu Tianlin's face stiffened. He originally thought that Yun Jian was just an ordinary girl, and wanted to use this to persuade Yun Jian not to follow them, so as to not be a burden. Wan Menglan, who wanted to let Ce go with them, had an expression that couldn't be described as frightened. Hunting school, student? She. This time, the one who spoke wasn't Meng Zhang or Wu Tianlin, but Wan Menglan. Wan Menglan stared at my Dan with her eyes wide open, then looked at Yun Jian and then at my Dan. Her face was full of disbelief. Wasn't she supposed to be a weak and powerless young girl? How could she be a student of the International Hunting School? Hunting school. Basically, anyone who knew about international affairs would know what kind of school it was. Wan Menglan and the other four were all members of the scouting team, so they naturally knew about this. The Hunter Academy was a world-renowned training center for special forces. Every single one of the special forces soldiers who could enter the hunting school had been through hundreds of battles, had outstanding military achievements, and were the strongest among the people around them. That kind of person was a sacred and awe-inspiring expert. What Taekwondo expert? If they were to fight against them, they wouldn't even be able to touch the corner of their clothes. The gap between them was huge. Moreover, Wan Menglan and the others were not Taekwondo experts. They only knew a little Taekwondo. As for Yun Jian, she was also one of the students of the hunting school. Tisk, TSK, you don't believe me? My Dan suddenly felt that things were getting more and more interesting. He immediately assumed that Wan Menglan and her group were Yun Jian's friends, so he sneered twice. She. How could she be a student of the hunting school? Wasn't she just an ordinary girl? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Wan Menglan, on the other hand, was stunned by Yun Jian's identity. Coupled with what she had said to Yun Jian before, her expression darkened and she looked terrible. My Dan was even more convinced that Wan Menglan was Yun Jian's friend. Look, now she was struggling, insisting that Yun Jian was just an ordinary girl. Yun Jian stood not far away and listened to my Dan and Wan Menglan's conversation. She only smirked and sneered at their ability to understand, but did not stop them. At that moment, Meng Zhang's reaction was much better than Wu Tianlin and Wan Menglan's, but the expression on his face still changed slightly. Wu Tianlin also looked like he had eaten dog shit. There were a few people beside my Dan. These people were all students of the hunting school. They had been following my Dan since before entering the school. It was obvious that my Dan's position outside was higher than these people. Although they did not know my Dan's identity before entering the hunting school, they were still trying to curry favor with my Dan even after entering here. It was obvious that my Dan was not an ordinary person. Especially the bald man beside my Dan. He was burly and looked like a man who practiced martial arts. This man followed my Dan's words and thought that Wan Menglan and the others were Yun Jian's friends. Therefore, he sneered a few times. In order to curry favor with my Dan, he pointed at Yun Jian in front of everyone and pretended to be smart. He sneered at Wan Menglan and said, "You don't believe me? Heh, if she wasn't a student of our hunting school, how could she be here? Today is our hunting school's outdoor survival training." Chapter 1897. After the man finished speaking, Meng Zhang, Wan Menglan, and the rest were even more frightened. If the fact that Yun Jian was a student of the hunting school was unbelievable to Wan Menglan and the rest, then the name of the Inhun organization brought them endless fear. Wan Menglan and the rest were so shocked that they couldn't even speak. My Dan glanced at the man as if she was praising him. Seeing this, the man looked pleased with himself for being able to please my Dan. Just when my Dan and the man thought that they had successfully tricked Yun Jian's friend, Yunjian wore a nonchalant smile and said softly, "That's right. Childish, ignorant." After speaking, Yunjian grabbed Siyi's hand with her small hand and walked towards the forest at the side. When they left, Yunjian's cold gaze didn't even look at Wan Menglan and the rest. Even a fool would be able to see it. Yunjian and Wan Menglan were definitely not friends. Seeing this scene, My Dan instantly felt that he was extremely stupid. Just when My Dan was about to shout and chase after Yunjian with the dagger in his hand, bang, bang, bang. 3 gunshots rang out. 3 bullets flew past My Dan's head, left arm, and right arm without missing a single inch. After the bullet flew past, it nailed into the tree behind My Dan and went deep into the wood. Seeing this scene, Wan Menglan, Wu Tianlin, and the rest were so scared that they almost knelt on the ground and trembled. They didn't know when Ce had taken out his gun and fired 3 shots at My Dan. At that moment, Ce had already put his gun away. He circled Yunjian and looked at My Dan and the rest. He warned them seriously, "Don't let me see you again. Otherwise, as students of the hunting school, I will kill you all without hesitation." After speaking, he dragged Yunjian and left. My Dan was so frightened by Ce's words that his body trembled slightly. He didn't know why, but he didn't dare to chase after her with his dagger in hand. Even though Wan Menglan had learned of Yunjian's terrifying identity from My Dan, she still stared blankly at Ce's silhouette, wanting to chase after her. Hey, wait, however, before Wan Menglan could catch up to them, Yunjian and Ce's figures had already disappeared. From Mengzhang, Yunjian learned the approximate location of the world entrance that sucked people into it. As for that world, was it the Yulong continent or some other unknown world? Yunjian had no idea, but she had to find out. Thus, Yunjian and Ce headed in the general direction that Mengzhang had given them. At this moment, in the headquarters of an Han organization. The last time Si Luo told Luo Berry those secrets, he thought that she was pregnant and didn't dare to return to Shui Ying's place. He insisted on staying with Luo Berry. After that, Shuang angrily called for Emos and to bring Si Luo back from Luo Berry's place. It had been some time since that incident. Luo Berry packed her luggage and prepared to return home from an Han organization. "Sister Luo Berry, are you really going back? Can you bring Si Luo back to your place to play?" Si Luo looked at Luo Berry as she packed her luggage. The last time Si Luo was brought back by Shuang, he didn't stay with Luo Berry, but they still played together in the day. "I don't think that person at your place will agree." Luo Berry laughed and rubbed Si Luo's head. She had misunderstood the last time and thought that Shuang was being a jerk to Si Luo. Si Luo pouted after hearing that. "Then I'll be leaving. Help me say goodbye to them." Luo Berry rubbed Si Luo's head again and dragged her luggage out with a heavy heart. She didn't dare to tell him. She was afraid that he would make her stay again and she wouldn't bear to leave. Luo Berry was really determined to leave this time. What was the point of following him like this? The two of them didn't belong in the same world. Who knew that Luo Berry would bump into Emos in the moment she walked out of the door with her heavy luggage? Seeing Luo Berry dragging a large suitcase, Emos' face, which had been smiling just now, instantly fell. His handsome face darkened immediately. "What are you doing?" Emos grabbed Luo Berry's wrist and asked. "I want to go home." Luo Berry didn't dare to look at Emos Sr. "You want to leave me that badly?" Emos tightened his grip. Luo Berry didn't dare to reply. She didn't know how to lie. Just as Luo Berry didn't dare to look at Emos suddenly grabbed her hand and forced her to look at him. The next second, Emos' words stunned Luo Berry. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.